Well, hello race fans and welcome to a brand new season of the 24-hour series, the Michelin 24-hour series, for the first time in Europe after a very successful season over in the Middle East. We're ready to go racing. A circuit that we've come to many times since 2015 here in the 24-hour series, the beautiful rolling Tuscan hills and Mugello. And we're ready to qualify on this Fast Friday ahead of this 12-hour race event straddling Saturday and Sunday. My name is Peter Mackay. I'll be taking you through all of the action this weekend alongside Bruce Jones. Bruce, we've had a very pleasant morning so far here at Mugello, getting an idea for the circuit, getting a walk around and ready for action.
A circuit with gradient, a circuit with flowing corners. It is a fabulous, fabulous place. I haven't been here for a very long time, but you know what? Yes, there are more pit buildings and bigger grandstands and stuff, but the essence of the place, a circuit that's came to be in 1974. It's got history, but it's been tucked away for a long time. Owned by the Ferrari group, it is a great, great place. While Northern Europe, though, is bathed in spring sunshine, it's grey here, as you can see, but look at those hills in the background. Hills turning into mountains, but at the top, yes, we can see them now, but they were misty this morning, and this may be the best weather of today, tomorrow, and Sunday, when rain is going to be coming in various degrees, but it's a brilliant, brilliant circuit. And what a view, Peter.
Well, Mugello is where we start, but it is far from where we end in terms of iconic circuits for this season of the 24-hour series with Michelin. We head in just over a month's time to Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit that every driver wants to take on and maybe conquer in their career, and goodness knows what the weather will be like there where we go to Spa. Towards the end of May, we head to Misano, a circuit a little bit like Mugello, very well known for motorcycle racing with the MotoGP World Championship. That will be starting to get pretty cozy by that time of year, but the one I'm thinking of, I think we're going to have the paddling pools and the ice baths out for Paul Ricard in the beginning of July. That is going to be seriously toasty, I'm sure. And then, of course, the traditional curtain closer in Barcelona at the end of September. It's going to be absolutely fantastic to tour around Europe at iconic circuits. That is what the 24-hour series is all about. Now, we talked about the weather of what we might expect ahead. Let's take a look at what we expect to see, or what we predict we might see here at Mugello today. At the moment, it is dry. 16 degrees Celsius in the air. It's very cloudy. It's overcast. The sun hasn't had the chance to break through. So actually, if it stays dry, the track conditions for quick laps in qualifying, Bruce, should be pretty good.
Yeah, they should, and the teams had a lot of running yesterday. They've had some sessions this morning, but what they are not accustomed to is rain on the Michelin rubber for this year. It looks like it's going to be, they should be okay. There's been a little spit of rain in the air, but almost a sort that doesn't even quite touch the ground as it comes down. Fantastic view of turn one and going up the hill, and it really is much more of a hill than you realise between the turn-in point and the exit point of the corner. Then almost a blind approach to turn two, but it is a brilliant place. And look, that start-finish straight is not straight. There's a curve halfway down it, another element the drivers will have to consider when placing their cars when it comes to the racing. However, we're heading out in 3 qualifying groups, and the first group, which is TCE, GT4 and GTX. In fact, the TCE entry has pulled out. There would only be 6 cars, so there is no excuse for tripping over anybody else in each of the 3 15-minute sessions that are coming up for them.
Well, it's not just myself and Bruce. We have Diana Binks, of course, down in the pit lane. Diana, where have you got to?
Hello everyone. Hello. I'm in the middle of the pit lane at the moment, Peter, just waiting on the cars to go out. And if you can hear that noise, the cars are making their way up to the end of the pit area here to go out on track. Now, it's pretty cool, as you've just been talking about. It is quite cloudy. I think the temperatures are something like 17 degrees down here. Chatting to some of the teams, I asked them, you were talking about the tyres and the conditions and things that might change over the weekend. You know, what did they learn during those practice sessions out on track? And they learned a lot about the slick tyres, but some teams have not run on the new Michelin wet tyres. So as we get into tomorrow, whatever they've sort of learned over the last couple of days, they're going to have to change strategy slightly. So a lot going on, a lot to contend with, but everyone's down here looking very much forward to getting this race underway and this qualifying session for sure. So teams are all at the ready to get out there on the track.
I think it's also a springboard into the season, isn't it? A lot of these teams would have competed in the Middle East, first in 24 hours of Dubai, and then the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi. But this is the first of the European rounds, first across these 5 brilliant circuits. And in these early laps, there are 3 15-minute qualifying segments with only 5-minute gaps in between. So it's going to be quick fire as they rotate through their drivers. Chance to see some of the cars, perhaps, for the first time if you've not been following the 24H series. What on earth is this we're looking at? It's one of the Vortexes, launched at the end of 2023, came out to play last year. It makes one of the best noises, and there are 2 of them here this weekend from the Vortex V8 team.
For the whole season, with
Indeed.
Great news out of the Vortex team. They've got 2 entries, number 701 and number 702. They are truly one of the most loved parts of the 24-hour series, the Vortex team. They do everything totally their own way. It's a completely bespoke chassis, but this 2.0 version is a big step on from the previous car. It's actually got a combination of work between Oxal and MUGELLO in France, who created the molds for the chassis and the bodywork. It's the same small box Chevy V8. They've left that as the beating heart of the Vortex, as over the line goes Lionel Amrouche to start the first flying lap.
Yeah, and so they should. I mean, the V8 is very much the essence of this car. In fact, in the original model, when they took the bodywork off, there wasn't really much apart from an engine and a cockpit, but you get to see it in various forms of disarray. But this is, again, as you pointed out, it was launched at the Barcelona 24 Hours at the end in September 2023, and it was a big unveiling, and there were gasps because it was such a quantum leap forward. It's much more nimble, running a little bit wide there at the top of hill. That's the exit of turn 3, and that's the highest point on the circuit, now going through the left-right combination, car working its way down, and then suddenly the next corner you'll see the Vortex V8 and Lionel Amrouche dip to the right, and then it really dives down into the middle of the part of the circuit into a bit of a compression. But this is almost the midpoint of the lap, and you're now accelerating hard and keeping your foot in all the way for the next few corners.
And Olivier Gomez from the Vortex company is out there doing qualifying for the number 702 car, along with Arnaud. Of course, very much a family business, Vortex, and it's Olivier who's created the aerodynamic concept for this Vortex V8. It's designed to be much slipperier in a straight line, but still provide the downforce. Weighs 1,000 kilograms. That's the balance of performance has set it as that. They could probably go a little bit lighter, or indeed, if it gets too quick, they'll add weight to it. Running around 550 horsepower, so it's a serious performance potential.
I mean, just those 2 figures together, a weight of 1,000 kilos and 550 horsepower. You can do your own maths, however you like to do your mathematics. That is a very, very great power-to-weight ratio. But it's also, you can see this car is so much more aerodynamically efficient than the previous one, which, you know, was relatively brick-shaped in comparison. But look at the flukes on the side of the car and the way the airflow is, as it comes down the start-finish straight, being fed to the middle part of the rear of the car, which is obviously very, very aerodynamically efficient.
So Olivier Gomez first over the line then with a 1 minute 49.552. So GTX, very much the story of GTX is the 2 Vortex 2.0s against the IRC GT from Australia. Totally different theory, really. That machine, the only similarity, excuse me, is its engine. It's a 6.2 litre V8 Chevrolet engine. Runs at around 550 horsepower, but can be upgraded to 640 horsepower in its highest state of tune. It's running quite a bit heavier, though, the IRC GT car. It's running at 1,125 kilos, although it does have a little bit more fuel to use, and can have 100% of fuel flow at the pumps. The smart pumps, the amazing Creventic smart pumps, we'll get onto them in the race, of what they can do and how they give different levels of fueling and amounts along the way.
I always like a circuit where you can't see the cars, then you can see them as they come over a brow. Now, that wasn't exactly the chosen approach to that particular corner there, but Olivier Gomez fastest at the moment. This is the first of 3 15-minute qualifying segments. I've mentioned that before. Only 5 minutes in between, so not a lot of time for driver 1 to get out to inform their teammate what they need to do. But it looks though these 3 sessions for GTX and GT4 runners should be in fairly uniform track conditions and very similar to this morning's time.
Should be, yes. They maybe a little bit different to what they saw in the test days. It's been all dry, but maybe a tiny bit warmer possibly over that time. But the way that the qualifying positions are set here in the Michelin 24-hour series is it's an average across your 3 lap times. So you do Q1, Q2, Q3 with a different driver in each. if you have an AM driver, they have to go first, and then your other drivers can go on after that. But if there is an AM in the lineup, they have to take the first qualifying session, and we go on from there. So it's not just having one quick driver, everybody has to do their part. Also out on track, we have the GT4s in this qualifying session, but a bit of a moment on the limit for Olivier Gomez in that number 702 Vortex V8. Venture Engineering, a British team, number 421, winners of the Barcelona 24-hour in thrilling circumstances. A very late issue for ST Racing's BMW, and Venture got their win on debut in Creventic, and wonderful to have them here, and they're going to be here for the full season. Brilliant news.
Yeah, that news only broke in the last day or so. They're coming for the whole thing, but 4 drivers lined up to compete in that this weekend. The car looks magnificent. Took a look at it in the paddock. You know, some liveries just really work when it's only when it's very bright, but this one on a dull day, and it is dull here at Mugello, looks fantastic, and great news for the all-British driver lineup that they've got the whole season across those classic circuits. Next stop, Spa-Francorchamps. You know your season's lining up nicely.
And not too long a drive from England as well, just straight to the ferry and down you go. Right, let's get the number 421 over the line then. This is being qualified by Christopher Jones. Up towards the line he goes, waiting to touch the timing beam. And that last lap there
was a bit slower.
A bit slower, yeah. So his best at the moment is a 201.6. Didn't improve on that last lap.
Yeah, he was a second and a bit down, so possibly a little bit of a slip, maybe just trying a little too hard. But just to reiterate, this is a circuit, you know, sometimes you debate how many corners are. If you've got a chicane, is that 1 or 2 corners? But we'll call it 13 turns here. But the essence of this circuit, it's up and it's down, and you're very, very seldom in a straight line. And as you can see, that view down the start-finish straight, even that bit isn't straight. So the driver's really, really working. It's a fantastic circuit for motorbike racing, obviously, but certain points are not enormously wide. And we were looking this morning as we were walking around the track, Peter, certain points, like when you're dropping down halfway down the lap into the compression, you can really see if you're on the outside line, you're going to be compromised for the long right-hander, Arrabbiata 1 and 2. If you just go around the outside, someone make a bit of a slip up. But right now, 6 cars, they've got space to play. Enjoy it while you can. It's going to be much busier when we get to the race.
You bet it is, yes. Well over 30 cars in the entry this weekend, 15 of which are GT3, so there's a lot of fast cars out there. And then the lion's share of the rest of the entry is Porsche 992s, which aren't a million miles behind, especially in a straight line. The 992s are really, really quick around this Mugello circuit. And you mentioned that long, kind of almost constant right-hander from basically the exit of Savelli all the way around Arrabbiata 1, 2 and Scarperia. And the left-hand side of the car just gets no rest at all, and all that time over 100 miles an hour.
Right, the very end of the lap, you're coming through a little bit of a chicane, and then approaching the final corner, which is a long left-hander, and like almost every other corner on the circuit, it's either higher or lower from entry to exit. This one, you're dropping onto the start-finish straight. We saw a few cars running wide on the exit. That's just about on the margins there for the Mercedes. We did see one car into the gravel. It was one of the Vortexes, wasn't it? And out again. And in the background, someone's... Oh, no, they're entering the pit lane. Sorry, I thought they'd gone into the gravel, but there's no dust flying in the air. So someone pulling in. At the moment, the Vortex V8, car number 702, still top of the pile. 1 minute 48.993. Now, new rubber for this year, and we were talking to the teams. That is certainly getting deep into the corner for the braking there. Was about how much faster the rubber is on the GT3 cars. Notably, that's the point of comparison. Than it was 12 months ago, about 4 seconds a lap. That is a quantum leap. So how the teams work their tyres remain to be seen, but a good couple of sessions yesterday and this morning, all in dry track conditions. Christopher Jones is really trying to squeeze some more speed out of his Mercedes there, but, you know, maybe, you know, smooth is better, but you've got to find where the braking point is. This is a view coming down into, this is the effectively turn 5. You're going to drop down from Casanova to Savelli. This is the point of sort of compression. And then what happens next, you need to get across to the left-hand side of the circuit, Arrabbiata 1. And now it'll be flattened on this TV view, but even here you can see you're climbing up the slope to Arrabbiata 2, and it's quite a quick little straight behind there as well. That was neat and tidy, so that's a good run from Christopher Jones. And
the lock is on the whole way through. You're just keeping the tyre is getting scrub all the time. So the left-hand side tyres are going to take a real pounding as, wow, to the top of the timesheets. Lotus to the top of the timesheets in GT4. Brilliant lap there by Alberto Nasca, 157.9 28.474. So the Lotus coming out quick, ahead of the Porsche of CCS Racing for Jim Gephardt. Venture still in third at the moment and not going quicker.
Yeah, but the margin is absolutely huge at the moment. It's 2 and a bit seconds. No, sorry, it's just under 2 seconds. But the last lap from the CCS Racing Porsche was about 5 seconds down on that cracking lap from the Italian racer Alberto Nasca. But we were talking off-air beforehand. We have to get used to commentating on Lotus Emiras. You know, I saw them when they were launched, and but it's great. And you know what? Over the years, particularly in 24H Series racing, there's always been Italian involvement entering Lotuses. Clearly, what Jim Clark and the gang did back in the 60s still has resonance.
That the Lotus got their money's worth back with their investment back in the 60s with Jim Clark. That's for sure. That was the reason why I had one for a year.
Did you see? I think it's Wood Brothers NASCAR this weekend is racing in the green and yellow. 60 years on them from helping Lotus with their pit stops, the Indy 500. Cool.
Well,
just that rich green with a broad yellow stripe, the original Lotus colours.
That's very cool. Well, Alberto Nasca has a multiple race winner in Europe, NASCAR, just with a silent R. And NASCAR, there we've got no, I'll get my quote. Olivier Gomez, now that time is amazing, 1:48.993. That is 2.1 seconds off Ryan Dalziel's time in practice this morning in a Ferrari 296 GT3 car. The very latest GT3.
Say that again.
2.1 off a full professional driver.
My hat is
off
off.
The cap, yes. That is well done. I mean, not only Olivier Gomez's ability behind the wheel, but his design capability and the step that Vortex has taken on. It's a seriously quick car. Great to have the 111, the IRC GT here as well from Australia. Great to see them making a long trip over to Europe to take part in the series. Darren Curry, who took the first qualifying honours, who's driving along with Grant Donaldson. The car, it looks like a previous generation V8 supercar, actually. It runs in a Camaro bodywork. It's a tube frame chassis with how would you say, fiberglass body over the top of it.
Yeah, now, we touched on the fact that some of the crews have got 2-driver lineup. What do you reckon the ruling is? If you do session 1, do you then get out, or are you allowed to do session 1 and session 2 before handing over to the other driver in the team? I'd have thought it's fair you get out and session 2 is done by the second driver, and then you've had your cup of cocoa, you get back into the third qualifying session. But a handful of teams, I think it was 6 in all across the 32-car entry here at Mugello, are opting just for 2. Some crews have 4 drivers, however. It's
easier to do because we have a 12-hour race, but we do it over Saturday and Sunday, and there's an intervention break, very different to what you would expect in other 12-hour races where it goes flag to flag. We're going to race 7 hours on Saturday. The cars go into a parc fermé situation. They're basically parked up.
On the grid.
On the grid, funnily enough, so they're there ready to come back in the morning. And then we do 5 hours on Sunday. It's a great system, very civilized way to go racing. We can all go and have a nice rest and a nice dinner and then back in the morning. That's the spirit of the 24-hour series, a series that really thinks about the drivers and the teams and what they want to get out of their weekend of motorsport.
Yeah, every single round, not just every year, every single round they're looking at what can be done better. You touched earlier looking at the calendar about Paul Ricard is going to be toasty, as you described, but a handful of years ago they thought the teams are completely frazzled when the drivers, when they got out of the car, give every team a paddling pool. So someone was sent down to probably Toulon to, have you got 50 paddling pools I can have? But a great side. And also a lot of the teams have their families with, and the children were sitting in the paddling pools. But I tell you what, that particular meeting was super hot.
It's going to be warm when we get there. Can't wait for that. Christopher Jones still heading round, not making an impression on his best lap time. An interesting comment from some of the teams about the performance of the Michelin tyre, how you get fantastic performance early on. You get a few laps of really good performance, then it drops off maybe earlier than the previous manufacturer did, but then we'll stay on a plateau for much longer. Dana Binks is down in the pit lane. Let's see if she's got some more atmosphere and information for us. Di?
Olivier Gomez from the GTX Vortex car has just joined me. Olivia, you set a quick time of, 3 or 4 minutes ago. So were you comfortable that was going to be the fastest for that Q1 session?
We are really happy because the car was really amazing. We find a good compromise, you know. we have since the beginning of the weekend we have difficulty with the front tire, with understeer, and now the car was really good.
What have you learnt about the tyres to enable to give you the confidence that you know what you need to do?
For the Michelin, I love Michelin tire. It's a class up different since last year. So it's a very good tire. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a few minutes left till Q2 gets underway. Yeah. What conversation did you have ahead of this session restarting with the team?
We changed nothing on the car because the car is very good. So I just say at my brother the meter to brake, when you put throttle, etc. Just that no setup. The car is very, very good.
How competitive are you and your brother together?
Oh, no competition. No.
Everything's good?
Yeah, everything good.
Olivier, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic to hear from Olivier Gomez there, who piloted that car beautifully, but also, of course, a huge part of that development, that Vortex 2.0. It's such a step on from the first generation car. Huge difference.
But with all of that extra performance that's been designed into this tailor-made model, but it's also the fact he's just loving the way it's reacting to those tyres. We did see him get a bit loose at one point, but that was down to him just pressing super hard, because it is important to be top of the timesheets, but also as the older brother, it's important to do a quicker time than the younger brother, Arno, just younger by 2.5 years, will manage when he goes out. But this is a team and a car that's really settling down very nicely for this season. And I think a lot of people, when you go down, do you want to race the same as everyone else? Do you want to have something different? I still hold my hand up when the SP3 class, the LMP3 class was launched. I looked at the cars and I thought, why would anyone want to race those? But then I've been eating my words ever since, because clearly people want to not just race GT cars. A lot of people want to get into prototypes. The cars have been developed. They're night and day difference to how they were to start with. But that is something different. And you never know who might be looking, but certainly it's a very, very advanced prospect in comparison to the previous Vortex. And, long may they reign. It's something different, and I always love that in race.
Yeah, take your hat off to them. I mean, they had a dream season last year in the GTX category, which is a catch-all category. You could race a Ferrari Challenge car, you could race a Lamborghini Super Trofeo car. The IRC GT is a perfect example. We had the new Rossa LMGT at Dubai. There's many different cars that you can put in, and usually if you don't fit into a class, GTX is where you'll end up. But we've seen modifications of Porsche Cup cars as well. 9 and Elf used to bring a 911 with a Cup car with a Manthey endurance kit on it, which was really, really cool.
Now, I'm a big fan of actually the GTX class, because I love these cars that are a bit different. But I tell you what, if you showed the IRC GT, we're looking at it right now, number 111 Racing, up from Australia. Darren Curry's got out, Grant Donaldson will have got on board. That looks almost like how a child would dream a racing car. It's low, it's sleek, it's got a stonking great rear wing on the back, great race livery with the Australian flag on the roof, and I just wish there were more cars like that. And certainly over the years with Mark cars up from Australia, with the various different bodies you could put on, they look great standing still. They fire up their great big meaty V8s, and people on a pit walk would sort of do a little jump. But I think this is, also bear in mind, most of those, vast majority, 95%, will be racing around the Australian circuits. So come up and do a European season. We saw them in the Middle East races in January. Why not get your season on a roll?
Well, they won the Middle East Trophy in the GTX class, so they managed to beat Vortex as well. I understand that a lot of guys who used to work for Mark Cars are part of this IRC program as well. Into qualifying 2 we go then for GTX and GT4. No TCE cars this weekend. So after 3 qualifying sessions, we get an aggregate time, and that is what sets the grid. Dana Binks down in the pits.
I'm with Alberto Nasser from the 426 PB Racing car. He was the man that put the GT4 car on at the quickest time in that qualifying 1 session. What were conditions like out on the track for you?
I think the track conditions are the best possible because it's dry, it's cold, so the car pushes. But it was probably the worst start of the weekend for us because we had so many troubles. Yesterday I did like 3 laps. The car was not ready. Today we broke the alternator, so we did not drive. Luckily, I know this track really well because I've done so many races on this track, so it was quite easy for me to get to the limit immediately, and that was the lap of my life. I gave it all, the lap of the desperation after so many troubles, and I'm happy about that. I don't think we have more because that was my limit. It's still slow compared to the others because I saw that the Mercedes did 156 yesterday, so there is a lot to improve, but that's my best.
Well, it's endurance racing. We've all got to endure all of these issues and get on top of them, which is exactly what you did. But from your perspective, you said you knew this circuit very well. What does it take to get that quick lap when you know you've got a number of issues to deal with?
Yeah, the problem is that the things you need to get the lap time are the things you must not do in an endurance race. That means braking hard, cutting on the curbs, hitting the bumps. I'm used to sprint races. Actually, this is my second endurance race. So they told me, be careful, go slow in the race. In the race I'm used to give it all my everything in 20 minutes. Now we have to take care of everything. And they told me also that this is one of the races that might be decided on the penalties. Those little mistakes that you do, maybe speed limit, 20 kilometers an hour in your fueling. So we have to do everything using our mind, and it's a nice experience.
How important is it to have a great team of people with you?
So important because the car yesterday was completely off for the setup, and they changed everything. They fixed the issues, so this is the best possible team I can be in. Lotus guys are amazing. So much experience they have because they also built some race car. For example, the Lotus Elise Cup, they built it, and so they really know how to make a Lotus work.
Well, the 24-hour series, there are a lot of fans that are really interested in this Lotus. How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's something that I've always been fascinated to because, every time I see an endurance race, what I love is to see the endurance cars after the race because they are all dirty, and somebody say, no, you must clean them. No, you must not clean them. They must be dirty. That's the fascinating thing about this. That's what I like about the endurance. People tired, sleeping, spending all the night fixing the car. This is not the case because we split the race. But yeah, the endurance, you can never really rest. Even if you're resting, you're not resting because you have to be ready to jump on the car in case of an issue. So that's the magic thing about the endurance.
Alberto, it's been fantastic chatting to you. Thank you so much, and no doubt we'll catch you over the weekend.
Thank you, bye-bye, and see you in live stream.
Great to hear from Alberto Nasca there of the number 426 Lotus PB Racing machine, the Lotus Emira GT4. And interesting there how Alberto's got to change his mindset a bit. He's used to winning Euro NASCAR races where contact is very much encouraged. Here, that's the opposite of what you want to do.
Luckily, he's been through the filter of having a couple of seasons in Italian GT, first in GT4, but here he is embracing endurance racing. And what a guy to have in the team. And with the guidance of Stefano D'Asti, who has so much experience, the team having experience of Lotuses. However, this is an Emira. It does look fantastic around this circuit. It really looks beautifully balanced there. And in fact, as it came out of the pits, I wasn't entirely sure it was a Lotus for a start. I thought it was a Ferrari 296 until it just slightly changed its angle. Again, it's got that dipping nose. Do you not disagree? I don't know.
It's got the Brabham BT62 at the front
does,
as well. Very
yeah.
much so, very similar. But great to have it here. Lotus should be in motorsport, although it's not the presence it was in the 1960s or so, but maybe this is the start of something new. First proper flying laps coming through for the second qualifying session. Arnaud Gomez said just a couple of seconds off his, in fact, 1.9 seconds. I know I tell a lie. 9.9 seconds. 0.9 of a second away from his brother's time. So 150.859, so that's a solid start to this GTX qualifying. Grant Donaldson a little bit off the initial pace set there in the opening qualifying by Darren Curry, but still plenty of time in this qualifying session just yet. In fact, Arnaud Gomez is purple in both of the opening sectors.
And we're getting windscreen wipers on. We wondered if they'd get through all three of their sessions without them. Not everybody's opted for them, but certainly the Lotus of Massimo Abati, which had just dropped to second place in this particular. This is Q2 of the three qualifying sessions. They've gone for the Blaze, but it's always a case of do you go for them or do you not? And if you're not, you can stay out for, to me, a lot longer. Once you've smeared that screen, right, vortex action, neat, tidy over the curves. Benchmark was 1 minute 49.9, and 1 minute 50.0, so a tenth of a second off. So certainly younger Gomez, Arnaud. I noticed his Christian name is spelled A-R-N-A-U-D, but on his helmet it's A-R-N-O. Saves on ink, I think. Saves on paint. Shorten it.
It's more snappy.
Yeah.
It's catchy.
Well, we're quite close to Florence, and that, of course, is the river flowing through Florence, is it not, Arnaud?
There's something in that. There's something in that for sure. It's the Arnaud, and then coming out of turn 3, puts the wheel onto the gravel. The rear end of the Vortex snaps out, but he gathers it up. Oh wow, that was a close one. There's definitely a Gomez family battle coming, a family feud going on, if who could be quickest in qualifying. Now, the race director this morning in the briefing said, we're watching track limits very closely. You must have one wheel on touching the circuit. They deem the white, green and red painted curb as the circuit. So you can be right off and have the wheel just touching it, and in qualifying that's going to be the case. But if they abuse that, you won't lose just one of your best qualifying, you're going to lose 2 of your best qualifying laps if you do that at turn 15. That's the final corner, the one that they're really, really watching for, out of Buccini. So Neville Jones now on board the number 421 Mercedes AMG GT4. This car has been at the balance of performance exactly the same as it was trim from the end of the Abu Dhabi 6 hours, running 1,450 kilos, 100 litres of fuel to use, and a 90% fuel flow at the pump. Now, why is that? The idea is to try and balance every different car together. We've got a Porsche, we've got a Lotus, and we've got a Mercedes. They've all got different configurations, so they all have different types of performance. And the idea is to get them as close together as possible. So part of that balancing process is how fast can you fill it up? And it's 90% fuel flow for the Mercedes, running 395 brake horsepower in this trim. When you compare that to the road car it's based on, 577, but that's how balanced performance works. They're often brought back the way.
Heading down to turn 1, the fastest cars heading about 165, 170. We were watching down there in one of the practices this morning, and even on their outlaps, they're starting to brake about 115 metres before the corner, and then gradually going deeper and deeper. For Honda, the first time they even consider it is 100 metres. Just think about how much speed they have to scrub, because it's the first part of a 2-part corner, turning to the right, turning uphill. But again, it was a very, very good marker point. Quite a few of the drivers here are feeling their way in. We're just seeing Neville Jones chipping down his pace. He just improved by 1.5 seconds on that lap. Still needs to find a few more. But worth pointing out, we are dealing with an aggregate across all 3 qualifying sessions. So far we're combining session 1 and session 2. They're only 15 minutes each, so if you're new to this circuit and had mechanical problems, as we heard from the Lotus PB Racing crew, it's vital to just keep yourself a little bit calm and be smooth. It's about flow around here. You might think with 15 corners you're chopping and changing, but quite a lot of the corners feed almost directly into the next one, so your exit line from the first corner very much has a role to play in how you're going to handle the second one.
And if we were being told the truth in the rumours going around the paddock that the Mercedes did a 156 in testing, I mean that car has a lot more performance left to give, the Venture Motorsport machine. But also in a class like GT4 where you've got 3 cars, do you want to chuck it off in qualifying? No, there is no prizes for doing that. We don't hand out the Omologato watches today, we hand them out tomorrow. No, we hand them out on Sunday, excuse me.
Exactly so. This is Friday. It's qualifying day at the circuit. Yesterday was practice day. We had a practice again this morning. The weather turned from blue skies on Thursday to grey on Friday. And even within a session in which we only have the 6 cars running as we combine GTX and GT4, still you have cars overtaking each other. And that's because Arnaud Gomez is going better and better. He's within a tenth of a second of his older brother Olivier's pace, but we saw him just flashing past the Venture Mercedes. And so he should, because he's lapping, actually last lap, 18 seconds faster. That's why he caught him and passed him.
That'll do it. And of course we must also mention that the Michelin tyres that are fitted at the beginning of qualifying stay on the car. So the peak of the tyre is always the best in Q1 with these Michelin tyres. After that, they'll drop off and then kind of stay there. The only exception to that rule is if it starts raining and the race director says wet track, and you can change to the wet tyres if you want. But unless we have a catastrophic downpour in the next very short amount of time, the wet tyres won't necessarily be needed. But at the moment in GT4, it is the Lotus that sits on pole at this moment in time after 2 qualifying sessions out of 3. The Gebhardt family outing, they're in second at the moment. With their fastest lap is actually quicker, the 1:57 flat, but their aggregate is higher. So this is the thing, it's that you can have the fastest driver, but it's all about the aggregate. That's Nicholas Gebhardt who set that quick time.
Yeah, well, he's the first of any of the runners in the second qualifying session to improve on the first session driver's time. And again, as Peter just explained with that, the rubber they've got on board is good for a handful of laps, then it falls away, but then it stabilises. And so these drivers all came out with a built-in excuse as why they weren't as fast necessarily as the driver in the qualifying sessions. But as you pointed out again, it was the least experienced driver who goes out in qualifying session number 1. And those are the lowest ranked drivers, and those are the ones that get the very, very best of the rubber. What pace the quickest drivers might get out if they'd been sent out for that first session, it doesn't matter. This is the rule. This is how it's put together. But the bragging rights, Vortex with their 702, not their 701, that's got Philippe Bonnel on board at the moment, are the class act. And they're not just putting in quick laps, they're putting in consistently quick laps.
So into the pits comes the Lotus number 426. The Amira running the evergreen Toyota V6 power plant. It's actually a Toyota Camry engine originally, but tuned up for motorsport. I had the Exige V6 club racer it was, and it had a supercharger. It's 350 horsepower, but owned just over a ton in weight. Oh, I miss that car. I miss it so much. It was a similar colour to that as well. It was yellow and black.
Best driving roads in Scotland?
Well, that's a very good... Probably from Blair Gowrie through Braemar up to Tomintoul, then on to Dufftown. That's pretty special.
Are those the wheels to have? Something that's light, nimble, but obviously unlike early Lotuses with a lot of oomph to go with it as well.
That was the best drive I had in my life on that road in that car.
You're blessed with fabulous driving roads in Scotland.
Yeah.
Right, the IRC is in the pit lane, so it looks so Grant Donaldson will get out, which actually gives more time for Darren Curry, who did the first of the sessions. This is one of those 2-driver lineups to get back in and go for it. In fact, Lotus is also putting their next driver on board. Have to see who that's going to be, because that's a 4-driver lineup.
Stefano
Dasti,
I think,
would be the one.
Former race winner in the World Touring Car Championship, and he's got a performance-enhancing component there, which is worth at least 0.2 of a second, and that's the open-face helmet. There's something very cool about it. It's like a 1980s DTM driver open-face helmet.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely thing. Actually, I was almost trying to relate it back to when cars raced here in the very early days before the circuit opened, but they raced around the open roads here. And bear in mind, a lot of the roads here were used up until the mid-50s in the Mille Miglia, where, of course, that famous run of Sterling Moss and Dennis Jenkinson, over 100 mile an average, over 1,000 miles, the Mille Miglia around these roads. And there aren't that many straights, but beautiful, beautiful place. But thinking of top sports car racers in the early 60s pounding around some of these mountain roads, it's sort of like it's the equivalent to of the Targa Floro, except a race, not a chase.
Quite remarkable. I mean, from 1914 to 1970, they raced here on the original Mugello, 38 miles of Tuscan countryside, which we may or may not have been on coming from the airport. Or this morning we went a few detours, so we might have ended up on some of those roads.
Now, why did we take detours? That's because last week in this part of Italy, there was a lot of flooding and a lot of landslides around here. So take Road A. No, turn around, try Road B. But beautiful part of the world, but there was an awful lot of downpour. I think it might be raining this weekend. Doesn't seem it's going to be the equivalent to what went before.
The winner of the Mugello races in 1964 was Gianni Bulgari. I can't say I have any Bulgari, and I don't wear Bulgari. I was going to say very often at all. It's out with of my price range. But if you do like that kind of thing, Gianni Bulgari himself won it in a Porsche 904.
I'm just about to go, what sort of car was he racing? But Porsche on it. Following year, it was won by a Ferrari 250 LM, and they've been doing quite well in auctions recently. I'm just looking at some footage of one driving around Tokyo at night. Just a contemporary, but it just looks exquisite. Anyhow, back on the track at Mugello, this second session is coming. Well, the checkered flag has fallen. 15 minutes over, and look at that, bang on cue, Diana Binks.
I am staying with the GT4, and Massimo has just jumped out of the number 426 Lotus. You've kept the time for the team there. You're still quickest in Q2. How did it feel out there on the circuit after that car's had a run in that first qualifying session?
The qualifying is for me is very good. NASCAR have do a lot, the best time, and tomorrow it will be raining. We try to do a very good race.
Conditions, as you said, tomorrow are looking like it's going to rain, but today it's dry. How important was it for you to get some laps in around that track and be comfortable?
Today is important to take the confidence with the car, and tomorrow will be change everything. Tomorrow we have to survive.
Did you enjoy that session though in qualifying?
Yeah. The car is very beautiful. I have enjoyed a lot.
Great stuff. Thank you, Massimo.
Bye.
Well, thank you very much, Di. That was Massimo Abati, one of the Ford Italian drivers in Lotus PB Racing. And I must say, their yellow Lotus Emira GT4, just actually having the chance to enjoy watching it go around the circuit, not just any circuit, the Mugello circuit, looked very much at home. I'd like to see some more of those because I think we need lots of variety, but also cars that look cool and sound great as well, the Lotus Emira, let's have more. But it's clearly a very tightly knit team. But they haven't finished yet. They've got one more qualifying session. This is for TCE, GT4 and GTX. And the eagle eyes among you will notice 6 cars on track. We do not have a TCE runner. We had one entered at the start of the weekend, but didn't come to the grid. That's JMEC Engineering with the BMW M3 and E46, a car with a venerable history. But alas, we haven't got them, but maybe later in the season they'll come out to play. Come on, come to Spa.
Come to play, yes. They did come to play at Barcelona last year, and Jimmy Broadbent, the YouTube star, drove in the car, and they really pushed all the way through to the flag in that machine, which actually has its roots as effectively a time attack car in Scotland. It was owned by a guy called Ian Bonthron, who's a brilliant driver, local driver near to where I live in Perth, and he sold the car to JMEC Engineering. So it's very cool to see that car having another life. It's gone from literally one-lap competition, Superlap Scotland, to 24-hour competition. Brilliant. E46 M3. So we're nearly ready for the third and final qualifying session. So this is a little summary of how this works. There's 3 qualifying sessions of 15 minutes each per class. Each session must be done with a different driver. And then you can't change drivers during each session. Each driver takes on a session each. You can't refuel and you can't change tyres. And it's all about that aggregate time over the 3 sessions. Now, here at Mugello, today the weather's fairly cool at 16 degrees Celsius. When we get to Paul Ricard in July and it's over 30 degrees, the tyres, the difference between Q1 and Q3 is going to be a big difference.
I'll tell you, you may not have to wait until Paul Ricard. Even at the end of May, Misano can be super hot. In fact, I honestly think some of my hottest ever commentary gigs have been at that circuit on the Adriatic coast. But let's move away from heat and sunshine down to Diana, where it's cold and grey. Cool and grey.
It's actually very nice, actually. It's quite pleasant, even though it's not sunshine. It's not too cold at all. So I've come down to, we're staying with GTX at the moment, the 111 car, which Grant Donaldson has just jumped out of. They're P2 in the qualifying session so far. Grant, how is it out there on the track for you so far?
Absolutely amazing. There's plenty of grip out there. The weather's sensational. Hopefully it's going to stay like this, but I think it's going to rain. But really good fun, to be honest. It's a big goal for our team to come over from Australia. It was a 34-hour flight, or whatever it is to land here, so it was pretty cool. It's great. People are fantastic too.
That's incredible. I was just thinking about that in my head. Yeah. 34 hours to get here. So you've obviously acclimatised quite well then.
Yeah, we actually built the car in Australia. We sent it over and we did the Dubai and the Abu Dhabi race. And then obviously we flew back home again, and now we're flying our team back over, and the car will run the rest of the season. Should be good.
That's fantastic. So you've committed to the full season. What is it about the 24-hour series that has made you decide this is the one for us this year?
It's just one of those things. We've been driving in Australia together, me and Darren, for such a long time. We're pretty good mates, actually best mates, really. That's what we like to call each other, stepbrothers. No, it's just one of those things, seeing the different tracks around the world, and the facilities are fantastic here, and the people are so friendly. It's really good to deal with.
How do you find it when you're racing on track? We have quite a diverse grid. It's great for anyone that's starting off racing, as we have pro drivers, experienced racing drivers, so you've got a lot of challenges out there. How much does that encourage you to be part of it?
I think it's really good, but the drivers are respectful. If you're respectful, then always looking in mirrors, see what's going on. If you've got to get out of the way, you know, stay on your own racing line, but they'll go around you if they're going to go around you. There's some quick guys out there and some fast cars. So a challenging thing to do, but also exhilarating at the same time. So it's pretty cool.
Is this your first time in Mugello?
First time in Mugello, yeah.
So what's your thoughts on it so far?
It's pretty good. I've watched plenty of the MotoGP here, and to actually see the track, I didn't realise how much elevation and all over the place, and how grippy the circuit is. It's really cool.
So you're looking forward to tomorrow?
Tomorrow should be good, and Sunday will even be better. Actually, if it rains, we like the rain, so bring on the wet weather. The Michelin tyres will handle it really well, so it should be good fun.
Right, thanks ever so much for chatting to us. I think you might get your wish for tomorrow, to be fair, but no doubt we'll catch up with you over the weekend.
No worries, a pleasure. Cheers, enjoy yourself.
I love that story. Two mates who raced together a long time think, let's go to Europe, let's take an IRC car, let's go and compete in some of the coolest places around. I mean, they've won their class at the Bathurst 12 Hour in the past, have Darren and Grant, so they know how multi-class works. They've won in GT World Challenge Australia. I love it. Darren is a winner in the Hyundai XL Cup, which is, you need your elbows out in that championship, that's for sure.
A track attack, snack attack. Right, 7:02 Vortex is top of the pile after 2 of the 3 qualifying sessions. It's clear by a whisker over 2 seconds from the car we just heard Grant Donaldson describing, which is Darren Curry back at the wheel. He did session number 1. There's a 2-driver lineup in the IRC, 2 seconds down. Let's see how it unfolds, but I must say the way the Vortex V8 has been driven so far, it's been very impressive. Olivier Gomez is there, another 2-driver lineup back on board, so it's only shared by the Gomez's in this session. For this meeting, the sister car has got Leon Lamrouge, Philippe Bonnel and Cyril Calmont, but that is top of the pile, so don't really expect the order to change. Maybe some of the lap times will improve. However, as Peter pointed out, the Michelin rubber, very good for the first session, then it drops performance, and then it stabilises. So maybe no really quick times. They might squeak a few tenths here or there through familiarity. We'll be talking about GTX and GT4. It is still the Lotus PB Racing leading the way from the CCS Racing Porsche 718 Cayman. It's a pinky purple of nose going to white in the latter half of the car. Neat and tidy in the way those Caymans always look.
GT4 RS, the latest version of it. Big improvement on the previous car, much shorter gear ratios. The previous car had quite tall gear ratios that weren't ideal for certain circuits. Runs at 1,370 kilos, which is not a million miles off the road car, actually. Very similar. 100 litres of fuel, 90% fuel flow at the pump. It runs with a 53.7 mil restrictor, so won't be running at its absolute full power. But the whole idea of that is so that you can balance all of these 3 quite different GT4 cars together. Nicholas Gebhardt, he's the semi-pro graded driver in the car, did Q1 with a 157.024. Jim Gebhardt, an AM-graded driver, 159.304. So they've decided to put Nicholas in Q1 so they can get him. They could use him again in Q3.
It's all about flow. It's all about balance. The track rises from the first corner along one side of the valley, then drops down through the corner it's just been through, and now into Arrabbiata 1 and 2, or Uno and Due. Up the slope again, and then a short straight to Scarperia, named after one of the local village. Again, that Porsche just moving around a little bit there. Turning right, then left, and then sort of on the plane, and now going behind the giant grandstands that were built probably a couple of decades ago. Weren't here when I was last year, but then that was a very long time ago. And then, God, here's something different. A dropping corner.
Is there spits of rain in the air, or are my eyes deceiving me?
Quite hard to tell, simply because it's so grey to try and pick it out against the light. There isn't a great deal of light, but for now, track conditions, we did have the Arnaud Gomez-driven Vortex going wide. I thought it might be because up at about turn 4, that's the highest point of the circuit. Maybe there's a bit of precipitation, but I think he simply got rather too close to the tail end of the venture. Mercedes, the GT4 entry, and had to back off. Dipped his wheels in the gravel, kept going, and is keeping on going. Right, CCS Racing have just put a very good lap in. The Porsche 718 Cayman, here it is, just smashed its previous best and is top of the charts at the moment. That's a change, the head of GT4. Remember, this is an aggregate as well, so they've done a doubly good job.
Yeah, 157.7. So the time that Nicholas, the same driver, Nicholas Gebhardt set in Q1 was 157 flat. So that gives you an idea of what the drop-off in the tyre age is. In fact, we know from the Michelin RFID reader actually that it says 0 laps on the tyre. I really hope that's not true, otherwise they're going to get a penalty for putting new tyres on, but well, we'll see. But by a minimum, it's got to be a kind of 10-lap-old tyre now. And so that shows you the drop-off. Very fast to start with, and then drops, and then ready to go. Let's get the 702 with Vortex over the line then, because it's purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. That means absolute best. So this should be a rocker of a lap time, and it is 1:49.759 for Olivier Gomez. Fantastic stuff. Now that, compare that to his... that's about 8:10, so the same relatively similar drop-off to the GT4 car, but crucially still quicker, both of those quicker than his brother's time.
Yeah, and the aggregate also, yes, family bragging rights, but on aggregate, remember they started the session after Q1 and Q2, 2 seconds clear of the Treble One Racing IRC. Now they have stretched that margin just a little bit, so making it even harder for Darren Curry to fight back. And in fact, Darren's not fighting at the moment because the car, with time still remaining in the session, 8 minutes or so, is in the pit lane.
Yeah, done their qualifying laps. I think that's smart from the IRC guys. I mean, they've got it. They would have to find GT3 level pace to make up their aggregate. So no need to take any more risks there. They should be qualifying ahead of the sister Vortex, the 701. So IRC ready there to start on the front row in class. But don't tell Nicholas Gebhardt that. He's going quicker all the time. 1:57.3. Now that is only 0.3 off his Q1 time.
Yeah, well, that's really, really cool. I tell you what's also amazing is Matthew Higgins, third driver into the Venture Mercedes, has absolutely lowered the best mark. In first qualifying session, it was 2 minutes 1.6 for Christopher Jones. He's done a 1 minute 58.565 seconds. So Matthew Higgins earning his corn. So
that then puts the CCS Racing Porsche to the top then on aggregate, 1:57.905. So 1:58.6 for Lotus PB Racing, but they need a PB from Stefano D'Asta to put in a quick time to try and get them back up, because actually he's the slowest of the 3 drivers. Now I have to say that's a surprise.
Yeah, I agree.
He's the most experienced driver in that, the most decorated driver in that car. 1:57.4 was the Q1, 1:58.7 Q2, and 1:59.6 is Stefano D'Asta's Q3 time. So perhaps needs to, although they are running on fairly old tyres, 19-lap tyres, so they look like they've been a carryover from practice.
Yeah, I think it's also just showing what a very, very good run we had from Alberto Nasca in that first of the 3 qualifying sessions. Yes, he had the best of rubber, but he was neat, he was tidy, and he was quickest in class. But right now, Lotus PB Racing down to second in the GT4 category, and the margin they need to make up has now become, just going to double check the aggregate, it's 0.7 of a second.
Now, a little bit of news with car 421, that's the Venture Mercedes. That very impressive 1:58.565 from Matthew Higgins has been disallowed for track limit breach. I'm trying to see what, it doesn't say which corner it's at, but track limit infringement during qualifying, his fastest lap time has been wiped, so that goes back up to 1:59.2. It's not going to make a huge difference to their grid position.
Well, he's just gone faster, that's why. 1 minute, he's just taken another 0.4 off. Will that lap stand? 1 minute 58.161 seconds. The car, the Venture Mercedes, the car that's only just signed up for the entire 24/8 series campaign, is going faster. Still needs to make up time on aggregate to get away from last in class, but the important thing is it's showing some very, very good pace out on the Mugello circuit.
Really impressive lap from Nicholas Gebhardt at 1:57.3 with, he was a 1:57 flat in the previous sessions. That's actually, that doesn't sound right. Wait a minute, there's a change there in lap time. Nicholas was a 1:57 flat in Q1, Q2 Jim was 1:59.3. Let's just switch around.
I think he's lost his best time. Possibly.
Could be, yes. That could exactly be what it is. I don't see a message up on our system as such.
I didn't notice one pass by.
It's not going to matter too much by the looks of things. It doesn't look like we're going to see, unless, yeah, it looks like it's going to be fairly consistent in GT4. So CCF Racing will be on pole with the Gebhardt family outing, Nicholas and Jim. Good job there from Nicholas. He looked like he was really leaning on the car. He was particularly coming around Arabata 1 and 2. Really impressive. Nicholas just got out the car. 4 minutes left on the clock.
What we're seeing in these 3 qualifying sessions is it's like Venture with their 4 drivers. Only 3 obviously be doing qualifying. They're just going for time on track. Not the lap time, they're going for track mileage, or kilometerage in this part of Europe, talking in the metric scale. All the drivers needed to get to learn the car. And Matthew Higgins, 1 minute 58.1, no good. 1 minute 57.693 seconds. He's got enough time for this lap and one more, one would suggest, but young British racer going faster and faster, getting used to GT cars, having had a single-seater background, but doing a very, very impressive job there.
And I mean, what they did, Venture Engineering, to come out on top in the GT4 category against a very impressive ST Racing team. And ST Racing were unlucky. They had a technical issue, which really unfortunate, but that's 24-hour racing. It can be cruel. Also, car 701, this is not the provisional pole-sitting Vortex. This is the third placing class Vortex. Has had a track limit infringement, lap time disallowed. It won't make any difference to their grid position. They'll stay where they are, but showing that the race control and race directors are watching very closely. This is a circuit where you can really step over track limits very easily. The way that the curbs work, they've got quite a lot of generous curbing that you can run out on and therefore gain lap time. So that's why the race directors are watching it very, very closely. It's always a factor. Even when the MotoGP come here with it, they're watching it all the time.
Yeah, and again, on a circuit where you can really get a wonderful flow, but if you get a little bit loose over the curbing, and that perennial driver's excuse, did you not have rain in the pit lane? We had a little bit of sprinkle up the top, and I went on the painted white lines, and then suddenly I wasn't on the curbs, I was over the curbs. I'm just sort of imagining the scenario that may be discussed, but for now, yes, it's still very grey at Mugello. Just 2 minutes remaining in this third and final qualifying session for TCE. None of those present after a late withdrawal, but GT4 and GTX, 3 of each out on the track. Matthew Higgins going faster and faster in the Venture Mercedes. He has the track to himself. He cannot trip over anyone else. He might as well go for another lap. No point coming into the pits. Get the experience. Come on, I thought he was going to... Yes, he's dived into the pits. I knew that would happen. So he wasn't going to learn a great deal more in one lap. Oh, he's learned how to brake just before the white line. Again, we heard from Alberto Nasca, the Lotus racer, talking about we do not want mistakes. There are always mistakes, and if it's frustrating for us as commentators, imagine what it's like for the driver, for the team boss, the sponsor. It's about eliminating or minimising the number of slip-ups you have. Yes, we've had a few people being pinged for track limit infringements. It's cost them maybe grid position, but that's okay. It's when you start accumulating through the course of the 7 hours and then the 5 hours that we will have of racing on Saturday, followed by Sunday.
I saw in our pictures in the Global Broadcast Centre with little stickers with number 1, NJ, number 2, CJ, number 3, MG, and number 4, MH. That is the driver's initials and the position that the driver ID switch should be in. So the drivers actually have to manually say, oh, I'm driver number 4, telling the car that, and more importantly, telling race control who's in the car, because each driver in the race has either a minimum or maximum drive time that they have to hit depending on their class and what their driver grading is. We'll get into more of that as the race goes on. But the driver time is a very important part of the strategy, when you use it, how you use it. But GTX, it's going to be Olivier Gomez and Arnaud Gomez on pole position, and in GT4 it's going to be the Gebhardt family outing, CCS Racing with their Porsche 718 GT4 RS Club Sport, Nicholas Gebhardt and Jim Gebhardt. So 149.598 average. That's a very strong average time there for our GTX pole. The Gomez brothers there with their Vortex 2.0. What a creation that is. Then it's the IRC GT, the Australians, Dan Curry and Grant Donaldson. Fantastic stuff to see them here in the 24-hour series. 152.142. And then the sister 701 Vortex, a 154.876. In GT4, it's Porsche at the top of the shop with Nicholas and Jim Gebhardt, a 157.905. They nick pole position by less than, just over a tenth actually. Very, very close indeed there from the Lotus, the 426 Lotus. And Venture Engineering will start in third with their Mercedes AMG GT4. Next up is the 992 qualifying session. But let's go down to Diana Binks in the pits, who has our pole sitter.
Thank you very much. Pole sitters for GT4, Nicholas and Jim are down here. How satisfied are you to secure that pole position for class?
We are very satisfied because I'm very proud of my son. He did the best time. And yeah, and a dream is coming true. 20 years ago, I drove alone with GTP. And what I said, I want to drive one time with my son, 12 hours, 24 hours, and it's the first time, and I'm so happy, I'm so proud.
I was going to say, you must be incredibly proud. What an amazing thing to be able to do, Jim.
Once again, sorry.
An amazing thing to be able to do. You're a bit speechless now, I can tell, aren't you? You're a bit speechless. Nicholas, you know, you were out there in the car. The times were sort of, you know, chopping and changing, but you put a quick time in to secure that enough for the team to start on pole. How was it out there on the track, and what's the handling and feeling like with the car?
It was quite good. My father left me a bit tired, so I had quite some tire left to push, and I did some good times, and together we managed a good situation, and now we are having the best time.
Have you raced here before at Mugello?
No, Mugello is the first time.
Oh, wow. What's your experience of it, and what do you think about it so far?
It's quite interesting. I like because it's quite up and down. You don't see it on the television, and yeah, I like the race track. It's nice.
Jim, how much advice were you giving him about this circuit before he jumped into the car for the qualifying?
Okay, the last time I drove on this circuit was 2002. But we had been trained on the simulator. And at the end, he gave me the advice to drive this car. Because I drove always 911, and I had some problems driving the GT4, but now it's getting better. But at least he gave me more advice that I gave to him.
But it worked.
That's absolutely fantastic.
It worked.
It worked. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. GT4 pole sitters, CCS Racing.
Thank you.
That is the 24-hour series in a nutshell. There are so many wonderful stories in and around this paddock. A lot of family teams taking part. And for those listening on RS1 and for those who have the pictures on Creventic Motorsport TV, if you could hear a smile, that was a very, very proud father there of his son. Fantastic.
Well, it's a rare sport in which you compete with another generation of your own family. It's very special. We were discussing earlier, you can go sailing, you can go powerboat racing, you can play polo. No chance you could play tennis on a competitive level together, but, you know, it's great you can do that in racing. And Jim Gebhardt was racing in the German Porsche series in 2002, as he mentioned, his last visit here. So his background is Porsche racing, but then there's quite a gap in his race CV, but he's got it together now, doing it with his own son. So very, very special. Also special, top left-hand screen, almost see a bit of blue sky amid the grey clouds. So it is brightening, and it may be the only point between now and Sunday afternoon that we see. The fastest time of all, and so he's taken the first of the poles. We're going to have 3 effective overall poles. Now we're moving almost directly on. We've got 11 cars coming out to play, almost double the number of that first trio of qualifying sessions. This is for the Porsche 992 class. It's always well subscribed, and in September, of course, we've got their own race at Spa-Francorchamps, and the entry book is starting to fill for that one.
You can only do that with a very well supported category. There's over 5,000 Porsche Cup cars that have been built since 1990, when the category started off with the Carrera Cup Germany, which was won by Olaf Manthey in that first year. And then the Global Mobile One Super Cup, which started in 1993. They've been through 7 generations of Porsche Cup car, but it's a car that you can run in sprint racing, as we see in Carrera Cups all around the world. But it can run a 24-hour race as well. There's an endurance kit that you can get for it. Many of these cars will run the ABS system that's available for the car, and it's just an amazing package. And in a straight line, because of the way the aero works, it's not quite as draggy as a GT3 car. It runs a similar-ish amount of power, around 500 horsepower. In a straight line, when they hit the brakes for turn 1 at San Donato, both the GT3 and the 992 are hitting 165 miles an hour into there.
It's quite something, and the circuits with the longer straights really benefit the Porsche Cup cars. So the opening round of the Creventic series and season in the Dubai circuit, you think about that long run from the final corner all the way down to turn 1, again that big infield straight. So GT3 drivers, if they're new to the game, have to be aware they could be matched along the straights by those out there. Now, talking of Dubai, the driver who put more people through the turnstiles than anybody else was Indian actor Ajit Kumar. He's not in the car at the moment. Fabien Dufour is one of his teammates, is doing that. But all day and all night, you were there, Peter. The screaming and cheering for Ajit was just phenomenal.
I've never seen anything like it at a racetrack. Valentino Rossi, you know, eat your heart out. Ajit is the megastar, superstar, is underplaying it, and we're delighted to have him here in the 24-hour series. He has raced in the past. In fact, he started racing back in 1990 when he was only 18 on motorcycles. But he switched to single-seaters. He raced in the British F3 Championship in the early 2000s. Imagine some of the drivers who took part in that. So he really was in there with some of the quickest drivers of the time. He raced in F2 back in 2010. But brilliant to have him here with, I love the livery on the car, the white and red and orange. Almost looks a little bit Tunnock's caramel wafer to me. If you'd swap the white out for silver, it's a caramel wafer wrapper.
You can take the Scot out of Scotland. No, but it's a really crisp livery. And again, a lot of race car liveries are only designed to look good in daylight, but this is one that really does stand out at night, probably because there's such a clear divide between one block of colour and another. Yes, you've got the graduated colours to make you think of something to have with your mug of tea, but again, great job designing that car.
So a lot of the teams have had quite a bit of track time this week with the testing that Creventic put on for all the teams to get themselves up to speed and get used to the Michelin tyre. Some of the teams went to the Middle East Trophy and competed in Dubai, the 24-hour race, and the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi, but some this is the start of their season, so they're getting used to a new tyre. We had a previous manufacturer before, we're now on to Michelin, and certainly from the lap times that we're hearing and testing, there's a big step up in performance in what we should expect, and we'll be able to make some really good comparisons once we get the GT3s out as well. Nick Jonsson, well, a true legend of motorsport, Swede, double Swedish F3 champion, raced with Tracy Krohn for so many years now.
When you say years, you mean decades, and they just work as such a fantastic pairing. I mean, Nicholas won everything there was to win in Sweden. 3 Swedish karting titles, the 2 in Formula 3, added a couple of, just the 1 touring car championship. What was he thinking? But of course, at that point, he then springboarded over to the States. And this really crisp livery, lime green with the blue contrasting colours of Krone Racing, and bang, 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 down through the gears into turn 1. He goes, turning in 3rd gear, starting to climb the hill. 2nd part of the corner, still in 3rd. Does he bang it up to 4th before he gets to the 2nd effective corner? No. Now staying very wide off the curbs there. Little dots of rain, I'm starting to think on the screen, or those bug impact. Sorry, I thought one part of his screen was a little bit lumpy, but that's just the old tear-off strip getting a dent here or there.
Nick Jonsson having a couple of little twitchy moments, just perhaps waiting for the tyre to come into temperature a little bit. Mühlner Motorsport first over the line with Martin Rump, the rapid Estonian, with a 151.152. 151.806 for Fabian Dance for Red Camel Jordans, who unfortunately are down to 3 drivers. They've poor old Ivo Breukers, we saw him this morning at breakfast, he had a neck brace on. He in his words, he said, I had a bit of understeer on my bike.
The setup,
bike, that is.
Set up on his e-bike, I think it was over vigorous perhaps, but he's out of the way. But again, it's a little more track time for his 2 boys, and for Fabian, who's driving the car at the moment. But super frustrated. You know, Ivo lives and breathes for his motor racing, so you'll have to learn how to live life on the sidelines, and we'll certainly keep everybody in that team on their toes.
They'll be a factor for sure. They always are. Winners at Dubai winners at Barcelona. So they're on a bit of a roll, actually, right now, our Red Camels. In fact, at Barcelona the previous year. Of course, they ran in the GT3 car with Juta, of course. But Dubai, very good win in Dubai, 2 in a row in Dubai for Red Camels. Over the line then comes Nick Jonsson. That is 5th quickest at the moment, at 1:53.512.
This, by the way, I've just done the numbers, is Nicholas's 22nd season with Tracy Crone. It started together all the way back in 1994. Shall I do? Yeah, no, sorry, 2004, 1994. We hadn't even been invented back then. Well, of course he had. Oh dear, we have a spinner. A spinner is a sinner, and off the track is the Spanish team, Escuderia Faraon, Pablo Bras Silvero at the side of the circuit. Let's hope he can get going again. We're almost halfway through this 15 minutes session, T number 7. So by my reckoning, that's we'll need another sighting there. Is it on the slope down to Savelli? Yes, I think it is. I think it's before you start climbing. He's taken the shortcut back to the pit, so it's the bottom of the slope there.
Looks like he's potentially avoided damage, which is really important. Had to bring the car in. Now, did he get a lap in? Yes, he had. A 1:56.222, so that's important. Because he can't work on the car.
Certainly can't change the driver during the session. Dies down to go and take a look. I sort of wasn't entirely sure if they had a front left puncture there, but...
And that you can change. You are allowed to change a puncture if you have one. So interestingly, the Michelin tyre technicians looking closely. Of course, you have to prove that you have a puncture and you need to change it. It's that's very, very important. Absolute best sector in sector 2 for Martin Rump. Really, really quick driver. Former Formula Masters China champion, winner of the 12 Hours of Sepang in class, the Abu Dhabi 6 Hour with Milner. He won that this year, so on a bit of a roll, as are Milner, who always know how to get the best out of a Porsche Cup car. They've got a strong lineup, all semi-pro drivers through the lineup, so Milner should be quick, and I tell you, Martin Rump is really hauling the mail here. His best lap so far is a 1:51.437. Interestingly, Nick Jonsson set a 1:51.213, but is showing second. So has that lap time been no, 1:51.1 is the previous. Sorry, excuse me, I'm with it now. 1:50.765. Martin Rump goes quickest then and puts Milner Motorsports firmly to the top of the timesheets.
Yeah, the young Estonian driver was one of many who didn't have the money to make it work in Europe, went to the Far East. You mentioned him winning the Formula Masters China champion and doing a lot of, he moved over into sports car racing over there. Just really gets the job done every time. Very much a Porsche specialist as well. And
my wife was a grid girl that year in the Formula Masters China. I don't think she'll appreciate me sharing that information.
No, luckily it's out there now. So, of course, we had a problem for the 949, the Scuderia Faraon. The car is in, as we mentioned, in the pit lane. Can't have been a puncture. Can't see any tyres punctured in the background. But a fair bit of green paint and grass down there. It's spring, and it's sprung with dye.
Just as you were talking about that, Bruce, I'm here, just arrived at the garage. It wasn't a puncture. There was a lot of grass, obviously, that came out of the grille at the front, which the team are now tidying up, which was left on the pit apron. They were having a really good look around the car, but I suspect that he has just gone off, but there was certainly no puncture to the tyre.
Thanks, Di, and I can report not only was grass harmed in the incident, but also some buttercups were decapitated and brought into the pit lane.
They should check for a 4-leaf clover, though. This is the right part of the world for that, for good luck. Martin Rump going even quicker again on this this next lap here. He's gone absolute best again in sector 2, so he's really, really going quick. The former race winner in the Nürburgring Langstrecken series, series that the Milner Motorsport team are very, very familiar with. Rump coming towards the end of the lap now, so let's see if he can make an improvement on that 1:50.765 as that Scuderia Faraon 149 car has got back going again and back out, no harm, no foul, and it is an improvement for Martin Rump, 1:50.443. I mean, that's 2.4 seconds off the fastest race lap of a GT3 car last year.
Well, super impressive. I talked about how Martin has long been a Porsche driver, but he did have a period in the middle of his career so far, a 28-year-old in Audis and then Lamborghinis, but very much the last 2 years he's been in Porsches. For KCMG, of course, a team based in Hong Kong. His connection with them goes back a very long way indeed. But also Proton Competition, Porsche and Lion Speed GP by Herbeth Motorsport. So he's clearly someone that's got 911 written quite large across his CV at the moment, and he's showing precisely why. 1 minute 50.443 seconds is the pace.
If you grow up in Estonia, the roads in Estonia, when you just go off the beaten track a little bit, most of the roads are gravel. So you'll learn car control even at fairly slow speed, but you know there is no no surprise that so many good drivers come from the Baltic region, and many of them head to rallying, particularly. But Martin Rump definitely knows how to wheel it. We should watch out as well for Holmgard Motorsport. They've got a solid driver lineup as well, with their Sonax-backed machine, white, red, and sort of grey roof there on that machine. Magnus Holmgard, Jonas Holmgard, Martin Vedel Mortensen, and Patrick Steen Rasmussen as well. And because they're a full semi-pro lineup, they don't have any minimum or maximum driver time to adhere to. They can only do a 2-hour maximum stint and then must take an hour break if they do that, but they can be totally flexible with their strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful thing to have, rather than realising, oh, we thought the safety car period, if there is such a thing, you know, we could use up our bronze driver time. They've all got an even role to play. Makes it easier. You just can slot them in accordingly. So red and white and grey. The red and white, not just notifying it's a Sonax sponsorship, but it's a Danish team, the Danish flash on the side of the Holmgard Motorsport. Porsche, that is backing off its pace a little bit. Still the best lap set by Martin Rump for Mühlner Motorsport. That's the two blues and white liveried cars. Still second place Magnus Holmgard, third place Niklas Jonsson, but of the top, well, 8 of the cars are in the pits at the moment out of the 11. So just considering conditions, 2 and a bit minutes left, so very few cars are going to go back out again. So it's really for the likes of Scuderia Faraon, still bringing up the bottom of the charts, but for the driver who went picking daisies and buttercups, it's Pablo Barras Silveira. Might as well get as much lap time in as he could. He lost time coming into the pits with his little moment. It was coming down the slope into turn 6 that he just realised he was carrying too much speed in and had to sort of gather it up. In fact, that's another moment he's had a problem going down the hill. But he's bringing up the rear. His best lap so far, 1 minute 56.222. Whereas the best lap is nearly 6 seconds faster from Martin Rump. So a big mountain to climb, but they're in the AM class of the 992 category. And the best place of the AM class cars is in 3rd overall, but then when you put a pro in, like Niklas Jonsson, you expect it to be at the sharp end. And for RPM Racing, it most notably is 3rd fastest for them.
Yeah, they'll likely put Tracy Krohn in next, and then Philip Hamprecht, who's a superb young driver, really underrated, I would say. He'll likely go in last, and you'll watch that car go quick once he gets aboard. Into the pits, the number 928 HRT performance machine of Alexei Denisov, the GT silver and kind of luminous highlighter greeny yellow machine. Of course, all these Porsche 992 Cup cars are delivered in GT silver, and most of them you'll see that underneath with the stickers put on top of them. So just 51 seconds left, and everyone but the Scuderia Faraon car is in the pits. The Scuderia Faraon car has gone quick, has gone personal best in sector 2, so hopefully to climb up the order a little bit. A little bit of debrief going on down at Mühlner Motorsport. Martin Rump will be pleased with that opening lap time. And they've got a really good driver lineup as well in the Mühlner car. They've got Valtas Verzoridis from Latvia, so very much a Baltic theme in that car, and also Julian Hanses too in German.
Yeah, as I was walking away from lunch, as you were just getting a coffee and coming out, I was listening to their conversation, all in English, but you know, with the different accents, you know, the background of their language. You were talking a moment ago about, we've been talking about Martin Rump, former master champion. He's not the only Formula Masters champion in the grid here, because you mentioned Philip Hamprecht. He also won it. He's another driver who again went east to look for his to put his name on the map. And again, you see it with so many drivers who can't afford to go and compete in their native Europe. They find an opportunity overseas, often tied in with lots of driver coaching. And don't forget, the manufacturers are very, very big over there on track days. And certainly a whole host of drivers have done it in recent years, and probably the one who's come out top ahead of Martin Rump is Alessio Picariello, who made his fame and fortune, now very much in the Porsche books. But let's go down to the pit lane with Diana Bings.
As you were just talking about there, the Müller Motorsport 921 Porsche with Martin Rump behind the wheel has just gone quickest in that session. How satisfied are you, Martin, with the time you got on that qualifying one?
I'm quite satisfied, thank you. I think the team has done a really good job to put this pairing together, and I'm really excited for the long season ahead. So far, it's been hard work ever since this morning. So, yeah, we're basically just keeping our head down, doing our job, and expectations are sure high, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we don't skip any steps and we do everything properly. So yeah, we saw a few things already that we could work on, and we approach it like professionals have to. So at the moment, also from this qualifying, there were bits and pieces that could have been better. Back to the drawing board to analyze and trying to ever be, pursue that like perfect lap time, which is never possible. So I'm happy now. I'm content, but for sure excited to see what's ahead of us.
You certainly got a great driver lineup here. You said earlier in your conversation there that this morning was quite difficult. What was difficult this morning during the sort of free practice sessions?
Yes, well, we saw a few technical troubles, let's say. It's still circuit racing, it's motor racing, so things come to you, you need to react. I would say good to get these kind of things done and over with early in the free practice, so that hopefully in the race will be all good, but yeah, Müller Motorsport mechanics got down to it and fixed everything really fast, and we were already up to pace in free practice 1, and right now we're just still figuring out little bits and pieces for the race, and it might rain tomorrow anyway, so hey, it's really exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot to come into the equation, and we've got a long way to go, Martin. Thank you so much. We'll catch up with you over the weekend.
Appreciate it.
A very cheery Martin Rump there, and no wonder. And he mentioned that, the team have done a great job to put a really strong driver lineup together. That's so true. It's difficult now with it's such a packed motorsport calendar, trying to find the right drivers, trying to get everything to fit together with the package as well, the financial packages. It's not easy.
No, but also, much like our life as commentators, trying to fit together what championships you're going to do for the following season. The drivers are often promised great things and they get dropped, and you got your dream lineup and then a driver can't do it because they've had to take another championship. But for people like Martin, have helmet, will travel, will race. But they looked a very happy crew. Valtteri Sviedris, Martin Rump and Julian Hanses having their lunch. And that's something that really plays into the mix as well. They'll help each other. And certainly for a driver who has GT3 experience as well as racing in GT4, anything you can get your hands on, they go for. Now, smoke coming away from the end of the pit lane. Those cars lining up to go out for the second session. If they are, something's got rather hot under the nose of the first of the two cars. Can't identify which one it is as yet, but that's not exactly what the doctor ordered.
I mean, I dread to think it's coming from the engine compartment at the rear of the car. Is it the Ajith Kumar car? I can't really tell from the camera shot we're getting here in the Global Broadcast Centre. But we'll get a look with one of our roving reporters down in the pit lane. Diana Binks, I'm sure, will be hot-footing her way down to the end of the pit lane. It is quite a long pit lane here at Mugello.
It is, and one of the reasons we can't identify the car is the climb from the pit lane to the pit exit is so much that we can only see the windscreen stripped and the roof and the rear wing of the first car waiting at the pit lane. The smoke has dissipated, but what was causing it? One of our camera crew, I think that's Seb.
888.
Okay.
As I'm getting closer, let me just see. They've just walked away from the car, so I'll try and find out from the guys in just a few seconds, if you just give me a couple of seconds.
Okay, Seb Lejoux Racing, and that was out in the first session with, waiting for the second session, but it's the second car in the line.
We're just watching the sort of smoke coming out of the car. Do you know what the issue was?
They think something with the oil, so maybe a little bit too much oil or something like that. Should be fine. The first car has it as well, you see?
Ah, yes, we can see that as well. Thank you so much. The red Camel Jordan, the number 909 as well, has got a lot of smoke coming out the back, as has the 888. So they're saying it's an oil issue, and the cars have just actually left the pit lane now to head out onto the track.
No, they should just put a little bit too much in. That's no problem. Better than not enough.
There we are, how to fill the gaps between qualifying session 1 and 2 with some drama. We've done that very well indeed. But the car's pressing out now, of course, with a completely different driver on board. We swapped from driver 1 to driver 2. And again, what you see as you work through to your more experienced drivers, just the way they can attack as soon as they get out onto the circuit. Air temperature, remember, was not particularly warm, not particularly cool. It was very, very comfortable. Maybe grey, 16.5 degrees, but even in these temperatures, they're still trying to get some heat into that rubber first thing. And Red Camel's Jordan pushing on Rick Breukers at the wheel at the moment. Remember, Father Evo will not be taking part this weekend after a little tumble off his e-bike, so he'll be the one pacing around in the garage, the one wearing the neck brace. And for the crew, Fabian Dance and Evo and Luke Breukers, it's their turn to get as much track time as they can. Where do they want to be? On pole. Where are they at the moment after the first of the 3 qualifying sessions? 5th in class.
Well, Rick Breukers really pushing on this outlap. Straight away looked really feisty, warming the tyres as much as possible. Rick's a seriously special driver, a double winner at the Rolex 24 at Daytona for Grasser Lamborghini. Quite a long time, I mean, 5 and 6 years respectively.
Yeah, 2018.
18 and 19, yeah. Also won the 12 Hours of Sebring again for Grasser Lamborghini, did the double in 2019. Quite a remarkable record, winner overall at the Dubai 24 Hours and many other accolades. He's the gun driver in that car. His brother Luke is pretty close. His brother Luke is a strong driver as well, but Rick is their star driver, and he's quite interestingly got to the front of the queue to make sure he could get clean air and get going straight out of turn 15 now and get onto a flying lap quickly, because you just never know. If the heavens open, you do not want to be caught out.
Yeah, what we can't tell from the commentary box is the relative humidity. We can only see the clouds in front of us, which is over the second half of the circuit. We're looking across the start-finish straight. But Rick, and you know just the way they run their team, Red Camel Jordans, nothing is left to chance, and they wanted to be out first. They made sure they got their car to the end of the pit lane first. There was a brief scare as we had smoke coming from the rear end of both that car and the Seb Lejeune Racing example. It was tucked in behind as they sat and waited, but as soon as they went on the track with a puff of smoke from the pair of them, the smoke has desisted, and now it's clear track ahead of Rick Breukers, exactly what the team doctor ordered.
It's interesting, the Red Camels team, they drove an Audi GT3 car in conjunction with Juta Barcelona, and speaking to the guys after the race, they actually were going, yeah, it was fun, but we love our Porsche Cup car. We actually enjoy the way it drives more, and we're not going to keep GT3. We're going to keep going with our Porsche Cup car. They just love it, and these 992, these Porsche Cup cars of any generation, but especially this 992. The more seat time you get with it, the better. That you watch all the top Mobil 1 Super Cup drivers, more often than not, they have another national program alongside it. So they'll do. Usually it's Carrera Cup Germany. If you watch a Carrera Cup Germany race, it looks like a Super Cup race with different stickers. And that is all to do with seat time and track time. The Super Cup guys don't get much of it on an F1 weekend, so that time in the car to find out just the nuances and tricks of this machine is so important.
No, absolutely so. And in recent years, the Scandinavian series has picked up. The series in the Netherlands growing and really throwing out some great drivers as well. Of course, the British series, the Italian series, the French series. I could go on. I could move away from Europe. North America, Asia, Middle East as well. Plenty to play for. A big scene for GT3 Porsches and et al. Down in Brazil as well. Their GT3 Cup's been going for a decade and more. And Rick Breukers, the fastest time of all, 1 minute 50.567 seconds. Top of the charts, Red Camel Jordan. They started the session in 5th. It's the second of the 3 qualifying sessions, and on aggregate, they are now topped by not a lot. We're talking just about 0.05 of a second.
But on that first flying lap, I mean, it's not a surprise to see Rick put that time in, A, because we know of his record and his credentials, but B, he just looked up for it the minute he came out the pits. And interesting, he's just backed out of the second lap. So was it a plan to do one and done and keep life in the tyre?
I mean, 100% sure that's the case. You know, I dare say Rick could go and pick off a 10th here or there, but he's of the driving calibre that he's not going to find huge amounts of time, simply because he can get onto his ultimate pace super, you know, at the first time of asking. He's not building up to it, so why not save a bit of life in the rubber, hand the car over, and see how it can finish the 3rd qualifying session. If you're just joining us, it's the 24H series. It's the 12 Hours of Mugello. This is qualifying day, 3 15-minute qualifying sessions. And it's about aggregate. That's how the grid will be decided. So you need a good run in all 3 of the sessions. Who's going fast out on track? I'll tell you who's going fast. It's Porsche Baltic. Great looking car, yellow, sort of acidy yellow with 3 colour bands down at the bottom of the doors. And Robert Kubica is putting a very, very good lap together at the moment. It's down, sitting in 6th on aggregate, but he's certainly going to be propelling it up the order. That is for sure. And car number on the door is 992. That sort of fits, doesn't it, in the Porsche 992 class?
It does. You see, I love in this class how many of the numbers hark back to Porsches of old. We've got the 907, which won at Daytona. We've got the 901. Of course, that was the original type number of the 911 before they had to change it to 911. And what else have we got? 928. The 909, which is the red camel, Jordan's car on provisional pole at the moment. That was the Berg Spider, the hill climb car.
A peculiar car, about as long as it was wide, but boy oh boy was it nimble up the hills. An absolute beauty of it. Well, not a beauty of a car, but its performance was what was beautiful.
Breukers into the pits then, so that was a one and done. I mean, if you can do it, what a luxury to have a driver who can get straight out onto it, bang, tire. And interesting, the Michelin tyre engineer wanting to get a look, get an idea of the pressure, see where it's performing. Great stuff for Red Camel Jordans. I understand they ate well last night. They went out for a dinner to a countryside steak place, and so what does it say? An army marches on its stomach?
Well, it's certainly an edict I've followed all my life. And never on a race weekend or race meeting settle for just one breakfast. Get your banker breakfast in, and then you get your bonus breakfast, often when you got to the circuit.
Tom Coronel, yes, that Tom Coronel, 151.424, personal best for him. Seb Lejeune, 152.754, his personal best. The RPM racing car now is Tracy Crone, who's taken on this second qualifying session of qualifying for the 992s. So it will be Philip Hamprecht who will do that third and final qualifying session for those 992s. And then we will go into the GT3 category and see who's going to be putting it on pole for tomorrow's Michelin 12 Hours of Mugello. Out of the final corner then comes the 901 Ajith Kumar racing machine of Mathieu Detry. And great run from him, 151 flat for Detry, and that puts Ajith Kumar Racing up to 4th on aggregate.
Yeah, they were sitting there at the start of that lap down in 10th, so don't forget that's just not moving him to 4th in this session. It's enough to move it to 4th on aggregate across the first 2 of the 3 qualifying sessions. So the white, red and yellow flashed 992. So Ajit Kumar Racing, they'll be waving their flags in India and all around the world in the world of Indian film, because the following, as you experienced the Dubai 24 Hours, is quite phenomenal.
Remarkable, totally remarkable. I mean, we were blessed with fantastic viewership figures in Dubai. It's always so heartwarming to see that. Literally multiple millions tuning in to enjoy the Dubai 24 Hours. It was a great event. It went down to the wire. Of course, a debut win for the new BMW M4 GT3 Evo, a car we don't have any BMWs here this weekend in any class. Just an unusual thing to say.
Exactly. There was one that entered for TCE, and that was the one that has withdrawn. But right now, Red Camel Jordans with Rick Breukers doing a fantastic job. One flying lap, park it in the pit lane to hand over to the third driver for the third qualifying session. Don't take the life out of the rubber. Well, he probably took quite a bit of life out of the rubber doing that one qualifying lap, but he was super smooth as well as super quick. So very, very clever tactic. AB Motors also in the pits. Ricardo Pera has had his run. That's sitting third on aggregate, the top car in the 992 AM class, but Ricardo Pera, he's been doing great things in Porsche World Endurance Championship for quite a long time for the young Italian, so you expect him to be not just a safe pair of hands but a good one, and he did the job. But at the moment it's Red Camel from Mulner Motorsport, from AB Motors, and Ajit Kumar Racing. As we just heard, Mathieu Detry, his lap was stonkingly good, went from 10th on aggregate to put them 4th.
Just when Mathieu Detry was actually a 10th up on Breukers' time after Sector 2, but went away a bit in Sector 3 there. So it's a 150.925. That's the second quickest time we've seen. However, Tom Coronel, he went absolute best in Sector 1 and then went away in Sector 2 and 3. It was still his personal best time. Great to see Tom here. Talk about experience. My goodness, his first of many championships was the 1991 Citroën AX GT Netherlands Championship.
Well, phenomenal. But I first came across the Coronel family when his father used to race, and they used to race a car that in the Spa 24 Hours, I'd always beg, as I was wanting a little bit of shut-eye, could you please retire your Mazda Rotary? Van den Beek and Coronel. It would split your eardrums. But Tom and brother Tim, just such enthusiasts. In fact, a large chunk of their year is already behind them, always competing on the Dakar Rally as well. But just such great characters in and out of the car. But again, yeah, a career that goes on and on and on.
Another driver who made their career in Asia too, you know, winning the Japanese Formula 3 Championship in 1987, the Formula Nippon Championship, and of course so much success in touring cars. It is going to be Ajith Kumar who jumps on board his team car, the Ajith Kumar Racing Machine, which is run by Baz Kooten. They've teamed up with Baz Kooten Racing, who are a team that know this series inside and out. They know the strategy, they know how everything with the series works, and that's really important if you're a new lineup of new team coming in. To pair up with an established operation makes such a difference.
It really does. We talked before, we'll talk about it during the race as well, no doubt. Do not pick up penalties, or just certainly keep them to the minimal. And when you're sort of consuming the rule book, things will go past you. You might read it, but you sort of need to understand it. And that's why having a team that has the experience can just save you so much grief.
That lap from Rick Breukers has just blown everybody out the water. 150.5. The nearest driver is half a second away. That's Matteo Detri. Ricardo Pera, ELMS WEC racer as well, 6/10 quicker than him. Really remarkable. But Red Camel Jordans might have had Fabian Dance on a very short leash in Q1 saying, keep those tyres in, we need them for Q2. That's the thing, is that it's the condition of tyre that you hand over to your teammate. So Matteo Detri jumps out of the 901 Ajith Kumar Racing Machine, and Ajith Kumar waiting. Could you say he's waiting patiently? I think maybe more impatiently, anxiously to jump aboard. Full focus there. A man who knows, you think of what he does for a living. He's an actor, you know, he knows exactly to get himself into a zone. Right, I need to go and perform now. Prepare my mind, ready to go, and then we go and perform. This isn't much different,
except
in mindset-wise.
No, mindset-wise, except you don't get take 2, take 3. You get your one chance in qualifying. And so it's a different form of focus. But again, it's about removing extraneous influence. It's about absolutely honing in to the job you're doing over the next 15 minutes. And the fact the car clearly handles very, very nicely indeed is something that will be really encouraging for him, because that was some great lapping there from Matteo Detri. Good job. No wonder he's smiling as he removes his helmet. The team quite happy. Baz Kooten and the gang, well, they always have a smile on their face.
There's a game going on there, which I feel must be part of the order of the weekend. Big congratulations from the team owner. And a bit of a debrief as well there. This is the thing that's so important with, particularly here in the 24-hour series, you have mixed driver lineups in every car. And nobody has an absolute car of superstars. That's not the type of championship it is. It's a mixed driver lineup, and the professionals have to get the best out of their non-professional driver. That's the secret.
That is the absolute key to multi-class and multi-category racing. It's your lowest common denominator. Raise the talent, the standard of that, and that is where your biggest gains come. The pros, they might pick up a 1/10 of a second here or there according to a slightly better lap or a slightly worse lap. However, it's making sure your least experienced driver, can benefit. Not everybody listens, and we were talking when we're having lunch about the benefit of some drivers that you can see them learning but not very fast, and they suddenly click, maybe year 3, year 4, it doesn't matter when, with whoever is the pro, the person who's advising them, and then suddenly the AM driver makes leaps and bounds of performance improvement, and you see it year in, year out, and it's just great for a driver who's possibly come to racing after a successful business career, and they sort of plateau, and then suddenly they find the key to that next level. So it's always something to look for across the years, and a handful of drivers here are definitely making great progress. Out on track, though, not many people making progress at all, because only one of the cars is still out there. Everybody's back in, apart from HRT Performance. They're 6th in the category at the moment. One of the two Titarenkos, that's Sergei, at the wheel at the moment, but the clock is going to come to a halt in just over a dozen seconds. So session number 2 of the 3 qualifying sessions for the 992 class is almost at a close, and Red Camel Jordans, after an amazing lap from Rick Breukers, out lap, flying lap, park hit. 1:50.567 was his lap time. Nobody within about 0.4 of a second. Matteo Detri, Ajith Kumar Racing, was the best of the rest, the next closest.
And that could be the secret for this upcoming qualifying 3 session, having that extra tyre life. According to our RFID reader, the Red Camel car, their tyres are 5 laps old. The Milner Motorsport car is 11 laps old. So that's really important. Actually, Martin Rump has set the best lap of both qualifying sessions, 150.443, about a tenth quicker than Broeker's time there, but of course on brand new tyres. The averages could not be tighter. Right now, going into this final qualifying session, Red Camel Jordan's lead by 12 thousandths of a second. That's how close it is between Red Camel Jordans and Milner, and then just a tenth further back from them, you've got Ebby Motors in the lead, and they're the leaders in AM. 973 Ebby Motors, quite a remarkable job from that crew. Ajit Kumar, they set in a 4th on the averages at the moment, just 4/10 of a second off pole. Holmgard are 151.9, they're 8/10 off pole on the average at the moment. HRT number 928, 152.3, so they're 1.2 off pole. So they're probably not necessarily going to turn that around in one qualifying session, bearing in mind that it's the averages, but very, very tight indeed between our front runners. Diana Binks has more for us down in the pits.
I certainly do. You're talking about that pole position time by Rick Broekers in the 909 Red Camel Jordan. Rick, lap 2, you put in a very, very, very quick lap. How satisfied are you that you were able to keep that lap? Because you came into the pit lane with something like 7 minutes to go. Were you very confident that that time wasn't going to be beaten?
Well, not really that. We just want to save the tires. So we did more or less, I think, quite a safe lap, but it was a good lap. So, yeah. Felt very happy about the lap. I thought it should be good enough, and Luke wants to have fresh tires as well, so that was the reason why I came in.
Did Fabian manage those tires well for you?
Yeah, he did very well. So he also did only one pushing lap, so that's our strategy for this weekend, and so far it's looking quite okay. I think we are just in the lead on average now, and Luke goes in right now, so let's see what happens.
Still 15 minutes or so to go. He's just gone out there on track. How would you describe this circuit here in Mugello from a driver's perspective? How challenging is it?
It's quite an intense circuit. You don't really have a lot of rest time, only on the main straight. But it's one of the most enjoyable circuits to drive. And especially now on the Michelin tires, we are almost 4 seconds quicker than last year. So also for the driver, it's a much more enjoyable, but also much more intense experience.
Rick, for the moment, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brilliant job there from Rick Broeker. So it wasn't just Rick's lap, it was Fabian. So this has been they're looking after Luke, who's going in for this critical Q3 session.
Yeah, well, that's just really, really intelligent, and it's about small detail as well as speed and pace and how you handle your car. So Red Camel Jordan doing a very, very intelligent job. But which is the first car at the pit exit when we come to Q3? It's a Broekers in a Porsche. Yes, of course it is. It's not Rick, it's now Luke, but he's got the rubber that is required to see what sort of time he can do. Remember the 3 qualifying sessions, 15 minutes each, aggregate across all 3 is what counts. And so focus, plenty of focus too from Ajit Kumar, the Indian actor, well, racer turned actor turned racer again. And great to see him out to enjoy himself, get to, some new circuits under his belt as well.
This is a big moment for him. Of course, drove the GT4 Porsche at Dubai, was going to drive the Cup car, but made a last-minute decision to go for the GT4. Fires up the 992 GT3 Cup machine and ready to head out onto the track at Mugello. What a feeling. I mean, does it get a great deal better than that for a driver?
I think
fairly open.
It's about
circuit
building, but it's a circuit. If he's starting to feel he's getting on top of a 992 class car, this is a circuit that will really reward the best elements of the 911 format of car. And the fact he's got 10 class competitors, you know, again, it gives him a good point, a good yardstick, a good something to measure his performance against and to enjoy himself. It's a fantastic circuit, 50 plus years of racing here, and it's always been special. It had periods where it wasn't in the limelight. Fantastic a few years ago during COVID when it was granted a Grand Prix, and people who didn't know of this circuit before, who only followed Formula One, suddenly were going, wow, what a beautiful circuit. Why did we not know this? Well, again, spread your net wider and you shall find. But so for people to come and race, and the whole point about the 24H series is racing on brilliant circuits, and here we are.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Okay, this critical Q3 session. Do not be alarmed if you're joining on our pictures in Creventic Motorsports TV. There's smoke all over the start of the pit lane. That is actually the cars having an excessive amount of oil on board. It's better that, I suppose, than
not quite enough.
Not quite enough. But that will blow off quite quickly for that. So the mechanics, very efficient, almost too efficient, if you like, making sure everything, all the vital fluids are topped off. Off goes Ajith Kumar then for this qualifying 3 at the moment. They sit in 4th on the aggregate, 2nd in the AM category.
Nice little touch as Ajit went out, no doubt focusing on everything. Was someone walking up the pit lane, just waved him and gave him a thumb up. And that's from another team. I think it was one of the Porsche Baltic members. And again, an element of the 24H series is just how friendly everybody is. You're out to win, but you're also out to have, well, to win, to compete, but you're also out to have fun. And it's, you know, a hugely important element. A lot of the drivers of the AM drivers are doing it as a backup to their business careers, and you don't come out to just spend money and not have fun.
No, exactly. You've got to enjoy it, and that's what this series is focused towards. Okay, so drivers one out lap, and we saw that the performance can come straight away. There's not really a tyre warm-up phase as such as one lap's enough to get the tyre into the window where it will work. Track limits could well be a factor here. The difference between stepping over track limits and not could be the difference of who's on pole and who's not.
It's getting darker and darker. We're looking through tinted windows, but we have talked about the possibility of a little rain. It wasn't forecast. We may yet get away with it. We had a tiny little flurry. Remember, we saw the Lotus out there with the windscreen wipers going in the first trio of qualifying sessions. Haven't seen any on the 992 Cup class cars, but it is getting darker out there. But track for now is dry. Best lap so far from any of these cars was Rick Breukers on his first flying lap, his only flying lap in qualifying 2, 1 minute 50.5 seconds. Let's see if anybody can improve on that. But remember, most of these drivers on tyres that are a little older than they might have liked now. The sweet spot's been taken away, but Fabian Dance was trying his best to manage them. Rick Breukers got the speed out of the car, the 909 from Red Camel's Jordan. But again, he saved tyre life by doing the out lap, the flying lap, the in lap, and that may just give Luke, his younger brother, a little bit more of an advantage than all the others around him.
And now you can go for it. You don't need to worry about what the tyres are like after, so you can just keep going. Keep going. If there's performance in, keep going. So let's see what Luke Breukers can do here. But Julian Hanses will be taking the honours for the number 921 Milner Motorsport machine, and this is a proper battle royale here between those two teams. Julian Hanses, who's been on the podium in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany in the past. Now, if you can get on the podium in that championship, you know how to pedal a Porsche Cup car, because it's such a depth of competition. Most of the drivers who take part in the Mobil 1 Super Cup will likely do a Carrera Cup Germany program as well. That is where Porsche have developed junior drivers since the beginning of time, since the beginning of that championship.
Yeah, not just the drivers, the teams as well. You see coming out of the early champions, people like Wolfgang Land, and then Land Motorsport running for decades since then, and it's such a well-supported series. But the fact that later in the year, all the drivers who race in the Porsche Cup series around the world, they're accustomed to the rubber. They'll be allowed to race in the special event run by Creventic at Spa first weekend in September, so expect the field to be very, very big indeed. And it's again not just the size of the field, it's the experience of the teams that run them. They know what they're doing after years, in some cases decades, in the sport. So waiting for the first flying lap to go on the board in this session. 1 minute 52.2 from Luke Breukers, next car across the line, just in the background of the shot. Who's going to be next? It's Paul Meyer, 1:51.8. So his was slightly faster. Good to have the Dutchman back in racing again. He had a few years away, and good to see him out to play again. And that puts Seb Lejeune Racing, that number 888, up into second place on aggregate. Are we going to get many improvements? Well, let's wait and see.
A little bit late to parade is Philip Hamprecht, who's just exited the pit lane. So knowing that it's not going to be a full 15-minute run, so deciding to try and get a little bit of a gap in traffic, possibly. As up over the line comes Julian Hanses, 1:51.686. So that's that's quite a bit quicker than the Red Camel Jordan's car, 6/10 quicker, and that puts Milner Motorsport ahead on the average by a good margin. By 1.3 seconds. Is that right?
Hold on, Red Camel Jordan's was just
right.
where's that gone? Red Camel Jordan. Luke Breukers is down in 7th place on aggregates.
It's the lap time's been deleted.
Taken away.
Must have been.
Yeah,
yes, that's thrown us off, isn't it? Yes. So we haven't had a confirmation on the timing screen, but there are lap times that have been deleted in qualifying. So right now, Julian Hanses, his lap stands at 151.686. So the former podium finisher in the Carrera Cup Germany, he is going well. You look at the drivers who have won that championship: Jörg Bergmeister, Timo Bernhard, Mark Lieb, Kevin Estre, Nick Tandy, Lauren Heinrich, Thomas Preining, Julian Andler. Quite an illustrious list. That gives you an idea how strong a championship that is.
I tell you, if you want to see a look at panic, look at a couple of commentators when they're looking for a driver that appears to have disappeared from the screen. There we couldn't see Red Camel Jordan because they tumbled down to 9th place on average. We got change at the top because Luke Breukers, wow, 1 minute 54.4, so suddenly 51.4, suddenly they're on top. Red Camel's Jordan by under a tenth of a second from Mullner Motorsport. Julian Hanses will be on then, and Shelter Hoffner just putting in a fantastic run for MDM Motorsport to put them 3rd on average. So the young Dutch racer sharing with Tom Coronel and Jan-Jaap van Roon, earning his corn there. That's impressive. 1 minute 51.4 for him. That's a very quick lap. Brilliant job from that young man. But in Sector 1, it's an absolute best for Luke Breukers. So Luke Breukers he's just getting into his rhythm now. He's getting quicker as this qualifying session is going on. Very interesting how that approach is different to his brother Rickhood and indeed Fabian Dansby. They're out, 1 lap out, bang, fast lap in. A few of the drivers really having to push very, very deep into the corners now to get a bit of performance. Their tyre life possibly just edging off a little bit. Luke Breukers out over the curbs, climbing the hill, but there have been a few twitchy moments, and Luke got to almost show us all the sponsors on the side of his 909. Tailed out by about 10 degrees, but again, that was simply pushing as hard as he possibly could, trying to find where is the edge of the performance in those tyres. In the Bergmeister, the Berg Spider 909. Probably Bergmeister also sliding around. This looks like a strong lap here for Luke Breukers as he comes around the Correntiao corner and then up through Biondetti 1 and 2, totally flat through there in a 992 Cup car, 110 miles an hour going in, 130 miles an hour when you're coming out of it. Now out of the final corner, out of Buccini, trying to pull as much speed as possible. Up to the line then comes Luke Breukers. 151.491 was his best before. Does he improve? He does. 151.376, the best lap time so far in this session. On aggregate, that puts them 0.111 of a second clear of Mullner Motorsport. What can Julian Hanses do? His lap is good, but not as yet as good as Luke Breukers. So sitting in second place for Mullner Motorsport. Homeguard Motorsport, Patrick and Steen Rasmussen, good there to put them up to 3rd overall, pushing Seb Lejeune Racing, the top AM crew, with Paul Meyer on board, back to 4th on aggregate. But Shelter Hoffner, who was fleetingly 3rd for MDM Motorsport, down to 5th. He just put in the fastest Sector 1 of anybody so far in this session. Hanses goes second quickest, 151.424. Now, what does that do to the averages? Oh my word, the averages, they are 24 thousandths of a second separated on average over those 3 sessions. Who is going to take this? One tiny improvement from either car will pinch pole position. Now, just remember the life that was saved of the tyres on the Red Camel Jordan. It might give him just that moment to squeak a bit more, but Julian Hansen's building up the pace. He's very quick in that first timing sector, waiting to see what we're going to get from MDM Motorsport, Helter Hoffner, who's down in 5th place at the moment. But he was fastest of anybody in Sector 1, improved on his best time in Sector 2. This is car number 965, MDM Motorsport, pressing on just down to Buccini, the final corner to go, where the corner arcs to the left and goes down the hill, down the hill, down the hill, and eventually it's about how tidy an exit he can get as he comes onto the start field straight. Grab a bit of curb, but not much. Neat, tidy. Is it going to be quick? Is MDM Motorsport going to stay down in 5th? I don't think so. Up to the line he goes then. What is it going to be then for Jelte Hoffner? It's a 151.4. That puts that MDM car 4th on the average lap time. Very strong performance from Jelte Hoffner. They won the BMW Racing Cup Netherlands last year. Luke Breukers goes quickest again, 151.140 to the average. That puts them a 10th clear. The 10th clear, it was very good. That's and then suddenly Paul Meyer whacks in a 1 minute 51.1. That puts MDM back to 5th place, Seb Lejeune up to 4th. It's chopping and changing, but the top 5 cars, they've all got drivers who've lapped in the 1 minute 51s. How's Ajit Kumar getting on at the moment? His best is his best is 1 minute 59.6 seconds. He's down in 8th place on aggregate. Remember, it's across the 3 qualifying sessions, but he's gaining experience, finding his form, keeping it neat, keeping it on tidy and on the island. That's the key right now.
Yeah, you do not win the Omologato watches today. You win them on Sunday. So, yeah, just get it to the end of this qualifying session. MDM Motorsport, wow, this could be a huge lap from Hjelte Hofner. Well, welcome to 24-hour series. Hjelte Hofner, he's signed with Malucelli Motorsport for Carrera Cup Italia. Might go and put a shiny Euro on him for that championship. What impressive speed on old tyres. His tyres, according to the RFID, he is on 15-lap old tyres.
Yeah, but you know what's really impressive? I don't know a great deal about him. I know he started the year in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Southern Europe, you know, that series. And so he's gaining experience, but he's quick.
Red flag, we're not going to know. Red flag. Hjelte Hofner was in the last sector, and he was 3/10 up on the fastest lap. We've got a red flag out on circuit. Don't know for which car. It's at turn 11. Right. That is... Oh, no, it is the MDM car. It's just spun coming out of turn 11. That's Civelli. Excuse me, Palacio, excuse me.
Yeah, it's Palacio. You've gone through a right, you're turning left, and you can't fault him. He was trying, he was pushing, and could well have ended up with the fastest lap in the session. As it is, Paul Meyer has that by 0.02 of a second from the best of Luke Breukers, but Paul Meyer in this aggregate session, still in the top AM class car. I doubt with what's left on the clock, very little time at all. I think that is our lot for this session. It was the final fling, and Red Camel Jordan's top of the charts. They stayed there by, well, 1/10 of a second.
Would we go back green with 4 minutes and 6 seconds left?
4 minutes, I misread it. Sorry,
yeah.
yes, perhaps.
So I think if you're Luke Breukers, if you're Julian Hanses for those 2 leading cars, Red Camel Jordans and Milner Motorsport, I don't think you can afford to sit in your hands. You've got to go out and hope that there's some life left in the tyre, which, judging by the fact that Luke Breukers just set his best time on that last lap, there is some performance there.
Right, let me just run you down the fastest time in this 3rd of the 3 qualifying sessions. Fastest lap so far, Paul Meyer, 1 minute 51.138 of a second. 0.02 of a second slower is Luke Breukers. Next in line is, let's go down to Philip Hamprecht, RPM Racing. That's the car he shares with Nicholas Jonsson and Tracy Krohn. That's 6 on aggregate, but he did a 1 minute 51.8386. Whisker faster than who's next. It'll be Julian Hanses, second overall, 1 minute 51.424. These are super... Oh, I've skipped past Hjelte Hofner, the driver who spun. He's 4th quick. It's super close, and the top third of a second covers the top 5 runners in that session. That's super close.
If this was the only qualifying session on its own, it would be exciting, but the fact that everybody's played a part in it and every part of the driver lineup has to contribute is so exciting. And this could go either way. I still think there is lap time left. What are you going to get? Are you going to get 2 flyers if you go flat out of pit lane?
If you're first out of the pits, possibly. Just want to point out, the car that's 3rd on aggregate, the driver at the wheel at the moment, Patrick Steen Rasmussen, is a good second off the pace of the other drivers around him, but because they've been so good across the 3 sessions, that is why Holmgard Motorsport, with their Sonax livery, their red, white and grey car, is sitting 3rd on aggregate. But he's got to just hope that nobody else chips away. Who's closest to them is about 0.15 of a second clear of Seb Lejeune Racing, and maybe that will be enough, except the driver at the wheel of that is Paul Meyer, who was the quickest in this session, so who knows?
Totally, it's interesting that quite a few of the other crews have put their AM drivers in late when they've had that option open to them. So there's kind of 4 or 5 cars. You had Kumar Racing, HRT Performance, Scuderia Farron, and Porsche Baltic, all putting in their non-professional driver late on in this qualifying sequence. Interestingly, so the session will be resumed, time to be confirmed when we will go back to the session. Okay, so there's 4 minutes and 6 seconds left on the clock. I think this time, if you really get on with it, you can just get 2 flyers in.
Yeah, not everybody's going to do it. Ajit Kumar has decided he doesn't feel like going back out. To actually gain a position on qualifying, Ajit Kumar would have to find... Ooh. about 2.5 seconds, just under 2 and a bit seconds. So no point in doing that. So he's got the job done. Their car is sitting 8th of the 11 in the 992 Cup class, or alternatively 4th in the 992 AM class. So for Ajit Kumar, he'll have time to digest and think about the 2 days of racing ahead. We'll go from qualifying to 7 hours of racing on the Saturday here at Mugello, followed by 5 on the Sunday. Looking cool, calm and collected.
Ajit Kumar is just the epitome of cool, isn't he? Just the epitome of a movie star. Hjelte Hofner has got that 965 MDM car going. Now, will he be allowed to rejoin? I'm not quite sure of that regulation, actually, I must be honest. Hopefully he can, because he was flying. He really was flying on that lap. He was trending up on the fastest lap time of the session by 3/10 and maybe just pushed over it. That's a really tricky section. Scarperia, you're coming in there 125 miles an hour, apexing at 60 miles an hour, and then building speed up to 80 through Palazzo, and it's easy. I think maybe just got up on the curb and maybe got the car around a little bit, but let's see. Session will resume in just over a minute's time, so we will get a dash for the cash here. Is it going to be Red Camel Jordans? Is it going to be Milner Motorsport? Those are the 2 teams with where their average is competitive to go for pole position. So 151.171 average for Red Camel Jordans, and just 0.102 of a second behind that on average is Milner Motorsport. This is a shootout.
Yeah, no, entirely, because the 3rd car in the ranking, Holmgaard Motorsport, Patrick Rasmussen, that car in 3rd place is about a second further back. So he's not going to be able to chop and change that enough and reduce it. So into the pit lane comes Hjelte Hofner, the driver who dropped it. No damage done, except it did stop the session with 4 and a bit minutes remaining. So it's going to be quick fire between Red Camel Jordan and Milner Motorsport. Of course, they're in the pits at the moment. They'll be waiting to get back out, and the clock will start running again very, very soon.
And while we just have this little gap, if you don't mind, gentlemen, Ajit Kumar has just jumped out of the 901. Ajit, you're not going back out for the rest of this session. It's about to be restarted.
We're done with qualifying, so we're looking forward to the race tomorrow.
How are you anyway? Let's start at the beginning. How are you? Great to see you back here in the 24-hour series. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you so much, and good to see you all again. It's always a pleasure coming back to the circuits.
So you've had some time behind the wheel. You were out in practice and obviously out for this second part of qualifying session for the 992 class. How did you find it?
Well, first of all, I think the Mugello circuit, it's an amazing circuit. I mean, from both drivers' perspective and from the spectators' perspective, it's a beautiful circuit. And yeah, it's been good so far. And the good thing about the Creventic series, you get so much of seat time, so much of track time, which I think for drivers like me coming in, into the sport, I mean, at least the endurance series, it really helps us, give us more experience, more seat time. And
what are you learning every time you get behind the wheel?
Everything. First of all, the car. I'm used to driving single-seaters, so the first time, in a Porsche 992, so first get to understand the machine, and then I think learning the circuits is 20% of the job, so 80% is getting to know your car and getting to drive it better. So.
And how have you adapted to the endurance racing? You said you did a lot of time in single-seaters. How have you adapted to the endurance racing when you've got, teammates and another team effort behind you?
Yeah, like you all know, it's a completely different format. Single-seaters, although motorsports is a team event, but single-seaters more about individual performance. Here, and thanks to Fabian, Matthew, Bascoten Racing, they've been so helpful, sharing data, getting me to where I am currently from where I started. So it's been a good journey so far. And it's not just about your personal lap times. You need to keep the equipment, safe so that your teammates get to. There's so much involved, and it's a pure team sport. Endurance racing, a pure team sport.
Is that the biggest thing? The whole fact that it's a whole team effort. You've got the whole team behind you that makes you want to.
I didn't get you.
I'm sorry. I said, is that what keeps you wanting to be involved in the sport, having this whole team effort and the people around you?
Yeah, I'd like to be involved in any which way possible. So for now, it's as a team owner and a driver, and let's see how it goes. And so I'd like to be involved with the sport for many years to come.
Well, we hope you are too. It's great to see you. We'll see you for sure over the weekend. Thank you so much. Back to you guys.
Brilliant. Ajit Kumar smiling. What a polite man he is. And I'm sure he's enjoying his 24-hour series adventures. Right. Shootout here for 992 pole. Luke Breukers for Red Camel Jordans, 909 versus Julian Hanses for 921 Milner Motorsport. Are they going to get the second flying lap, Bruce Jones? That's the question. I don't know. It's going to be very, very tight.
Well, 3 of them will definitely not, because they haven't gone out on the track. Paul Meyer, who's sitting 4th overall for Seb Lejeune Racing, hasn't left the pits. RPM Racing, Philippe Hamprecht and Ajit Kumar, who we heard from. And one of the last cars out of the pit was the driver who stopped that session, Kjeld de Hoffner, MDM Motorsport. He's good for 5th at the moment, but if he hadn't scuffed that lap, he could have put his car probably up, certainly to 3rd place on aggregate, but he's out there to try all over again. But Red Camel Jordan, they're sitting on that margin, remember, on aggregate, just a 1/10 of a second, or to be accurate, 0.102 of a second over Milner Motorsport, and Luke Breukers' job is to make sure they retain that position. But the clock continues to count down, 25 seconds to go. So we should be able to get the Red Camel Jordan car across the start-finish line onto a further lap. But for some of the cars behind, it ain't going to happen.
And the Milner car is going to get another lap as well, which is just up the road from Luke Breukers in the Red Camel Jordan. Over the line goes the 921 of Julian Hanses, and indeed Luke Breukers makes it over for another lap. The home guard car, is it going to make it over? Is it going to see the checkered flag? Oh, it's so tight.
We couldn't see, it was in the dip. The checkered flag is now displayed. I think just got onto that lap. So for people like Kjeld de Hoffner, didn't get out in time to do anything to improve, having dropped, but 902 pressing on, Patrick Steen Rasmussen. Remember, the car in 3rd place, his car is about a second down on aggregate, so he's not going to have a superhuman effort. It would be a superhuman effort to topple either Red Camel Jordans or Milner Motorsport. It's between them for class pole.
It's no improvement in Sector 1 for either Luke Breukers or Julian Hanses, neither indeed for the Home Guard Motorsport car of Patrick Steen Rasmussen. I just wonder, maybe have the tyres given all they're going to give, and a little mistake there coming out of the chicane for Patrick Steen Rasmussen. That's the lap time gone for him, but this would take a Herculean effort from either Breukers or Hanses to change the order of things. But of course, Breukers, his crew, are in the luxurious position of being on top going into this mini shootout, if you like.
Yeah, 4 cars managed to get onto the final flying lap, 3 didn't come out, and 5 have already finished. So Kjeld de Hoffner, the driver who was 5th, remains 5th. The checkered flag, he has been greeted by that. Ebby Motors down in 7th. Also, they've done their best. Victor Titarenko, HRT Performance, in 9th. He's finished as well. Pedro Miguel Lourinho, the Scuderia Faleon, the Spanish team, also has finished in 10th overall. And Porsche Baltic, Audrius Pictis, down 11th, bringing up the rear in the 992 class. But what's happening at the front? The lap times are way off. Luke Breukers' middle sector is seconds away from his very best. He's backed it off down to the final corner, that long left-hander, and he'll be reporting to the pit lane.
I'm sure Diana Binks will be waiting patiently with the microphone to get a word with Luke Breukers, because him, his brother Rick, and Fabian Dance have done a fantastic job there in qualifying. The qualifying one time for Fabian Dance, a 151.806. Rick Breukers, 150.567, and then a 151.140 for Luke Breukers. That is good enough to put Red Camel Jordans on pole position in the 992 category for tomorrow's Michelin 12 Hours of Mugello. In the AM class, it's Seb Lejeune Racing, the 888, that will be on pole position. Great job from Paul Meyer, who was actually the quickest driver in that Q3 session. Unfortunately, a little mistake for Home Guard Motorsport from Patrick Steen Rasmussen. Nearly ended up in the gravel, but great car control there from the Danish driver, and they will start on row 2, on the inside of row 2. Great job from the Danish squad. They used to run a TCR car. They ran a Seat Leon Competition, but have run the Porsche the last year or so. They're a really well turned out outfit. You go past their truck and their pit, you go, that is a factory looking setup that they've got there. Well, 992 is always a hugely exciting category. It's, in a strange way, it's almost a little bit like LMP2, where everyone has the same kit. It's all about what the drivers do with it and what the team do with it, and the preparation and the little details.
And that is why both of those categories have shone over the past 20 years or so. And again, but the cars do look fantastic. But bragging rights to Red Camel Jordans by the smallest margin, just a 1/10 of a second. It was tiny, but they did the job.
So let's go through the full order then for qualifying for the 992 class. So it's pole position then for Luke Breukers, Rick Breukers and Fabian Dance. 151.171 average time with the 921 Müller Motorsport car in second. Home Guard will start from third, and the top AM class car is the 888 of Seb Lejeune Racing. A great average, 152.444 for them in the AM class. 965 MDM Motorsport, we're going to have to watch that car. Great job from Tom Cornell, a driver who we know very, very well. Hjelte Hofner, well, what an arrival that is to the series from him, with some great pace there in that third qualifying session. RPM Racing, always a threat in the AM class. They're going to start second in class with Tracy Krohn, Nick Jonsson and Philip Hamprecht. Their average only half a second off pole, so they're not too far away at all. Ebby Motors will start from 7th. Ajith Kumar Racing start in 8th. The 928 HRT car will start 9th, and Farron Motorsport in 949. They round out the top 10 with a personal best on the last lap for Pedro Miguel Lourinho. Well, Bruce, it's that 992 session was certainly heart-raising at certain points. And let's speak to the person who's probably had their heart rate raised the most, Luke Breukers, who's with Diana Brinks.
I've caught Luke. He just had to go into the scrutineering area here, so you had to run down from the garage to get him. But look, you had the pace from the off during that disrupted qualifying session. Were you ever concerned that they were going to catch you?
I wasn't sure, so I thought might give it a go again, and luckily it didn't happen. I just didn't improve, but it was a very fun qualifying, and my teammates Rick and Fabian did an amazing job. So now we got pole here in Tuscany, so we're all happy.
Yeah, it was perfectly executed, it seems.
Yes, yeah, we had the strategy with not going too long in the first 2 sessions to save the tires. Worked out for us, so yeah.
How enjoyable is it when it comes together like that and you find you've got the pace in the car and it's just flowing for you?
Yeah, it's very satisfying, especially after the private test we have had. Some of the studs broke off of the car, so the boys had to repair it very quickly. Everything went in time, the team works smoothly, so when you've had that sort of issue, then doing a qualifying without any issue is very nice.
What were the conditions like on the track now? We've had several different classes out there, and it's obviously evolving as the evening, or afternoon, should I say. Yeah. It's not evening yet. Afternoon goes on.
I think the track is very quick. The temperature of the tarmac seems very nice. So there was a lot of grip out there, and we had tons of fun.
Okay, well, congratulations on that class pole.
Thank you so much.
Red Camel Jordans then on pole in 992. And it's not that quick, sharp fire qualifying. It's a proper average of those 3 qualifying sessions. But when it comes down to it, it's down that 1 lap, and that's what the strategy there from Red Camel Jordan's, Bruce, to go for outlap, bang, and then in.
100%, but you know what? It actually echoes the format of endurance racing. A lot of qualifying is just qualifying, then you go for long endurance runs. But here, it's about like the race. You have to get all 3 drivers delivering to their maximum, and that's where they came ahead. But they had to think about it. It wasn't just go out and set your fastest lap. It was save the tyre life, make it work. And as we heard from Luke Breukers there, track conditions absolutely perfect. It's been a very grey day here, but it is actually beginning to brighten up a little bit. We thought we'd have rather better weather, but the important thing for the GT3 runners, 15 of those due to go out to play to conclude our qualifying sessions here on the Friday. Track conditions are fabulous. So let's see, that's going to be super, super close. We've got a mixture of amazing cars to show you, but let's take a look at the highlights of the 992 qualifying sessions.
Now it's time for GT3 qualifying. This is where we will see who will start on outright pole position for tomorrow's 12 hours of Mugello, the Michelin 12 hours of Mugello. We've seen some rapid times in free practice. We've heard about some very quick times in testing as well. Last year, the race lap record was a 147.806, set by David Fiminelli in the old Ferrari, the 488 GT3, not the 296. I suspect in this qualifying session, Bruce Jones, we're going to see that eclipsed by a decent margin.
Well, this is the most highly contested qualifying session of the three sets of 3 qualifying sessions, if you will. 15 runners coming out to play, 6 manufacturers we can offer you: Ferrari, Mercedes, Lamborghini, Audi, Porsche, and a lone Aston Martin from E2P Racing. It's Rolling Thunder, and a bright green metallic Mercedes leads them out of the pit lane. Manuela Gostner at the wheel of that, the all-family run Italian MP Racing Mercedes. But who's going to come out on top? 3 15-minute qualifying sessions. It's going to be very, very quick fire. And of course, as we've seen for the other classes, you combine the best 3 runs in each of those 15-minute qualifying sessions, do some maths, and then at the end of it, you find out who's fastest of all. But we had the one slip-up that brought out a brief red flag for the Porsche 992s. Will we get through these 3 unscathed? There's more. You can have an excuse of traffic, but if everybody's running at fairly close pace, they shouldn't really trip over each other unless someone's late out of the pit. So it should be no excuse about being blocked. It's about how you're getting the most out of your Michelin rubber.
And this is the most numeric class, the GT3. We have 15 cars entered, 15 cars going out for qualifying, factory-built machines for some of the best manufacturers in the world. The Porsche with their 992 GT3R, fresh off a GTD Pro victory at Sebring. In fact, we have one of those drivers in the Proton Huber competition, car number 73, Klaus Bachler, fresh off that victory, and here at Mugello, the life of an international sports car racer. But they'll be up against the Ferrari of Era Motorsport, a new comer to the Michelin 24-hour series. We saw them in the Middle East at Dubai, but they're here for the full European season. Dwight Merriman, former Rolex 24-hour winner on a couple of occasions, and Sebring winner as well. He's brought the Era Motorsport team here with, they've got one brand new Ferrari and they've got one lightly used Ferrari in their operation. They're taking this very, very seriously, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And they're not just impressive in the pit lane, out on the track as well, but in the paddock too. Very, very fine catering facility they have. We haven't dared stick our head inside, but again, the level of professionalism and the whole sideshow as well, increasing with every year. Right, serious stuff is happening out on the track. The first car set a flying lap, Manuela Gostner, outlap 2 minutes 1.9. We'll see times way, way faster than that. And for some of the drivers, it's about hanging back, making space. You gauge who is the driver in front. But just remember, when you have the 3 qualifying sessions, the least experienced, if you're having a 3-driver lineup, is the driver in this first of the 3 qualifying sessions.
Alexander Prince in the Hoffer Racing Mercedes, just behind Lisa Clark in the Gulf-coloured Ferrari 296 GT3 for Pellin Racing. Has just got past then, out onto the warm-up lap. We saw Lisa race here last year in the Ferrari, in the 488 Ferrari, and stepping up to the 296 GT3. She's raced in Ferrari Challenge for many years. She even has a dog called Enzo. That's a Ferrari fan.
It's not called 296.
No, I think Enzo's got a nicer ring to it, I think, to be fair there. A golden retriever as well. Have you seen the film with the golden retriever called Enzo? Art of Racing in the Rain? I'm getting a blank look here.
A long time ago.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where Enzo comes from. So, nobody quite... Well, in fact, 1 or 2 laps already, and we've got a
Huber Motorsport has gone.
Oh, dear. Car 73.
Jörg Dreisau.
It's the orange and purple Proton Huber machine. Jörg, the driver with the most life experience in this car. He's got experience in this championship, in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, Italian GT, Porsche Sport Cup, etc. He's just been elected to take the qualifying honours. No harm, no foul, though. Just a little spin, no damage on the car from what we can see. May have to... Have they picked up any grass on the front of that car? Not sure. Manuela Gostner goes to the top of the timesheets and is immediately usurped by Juta Racing's Tim Muller. So it was a 151.1 for Gostner, Muller 149.1. Oliver Campos for E2P Racing and their Aston Martin, a 154.409 at the moment.
ARC Bratislava, Zdeno Michelin suddenly bangs in the second fastest time. He's under a tenth. He's, in fact, 500ths of a second behind Tim Muller in the GT3 Audi. So it's ARC Bratislava in that second place for Michelin in that yellow and multicoloured Lamborghini. So good manufacturer variety. And Manuel Agostina, by dint of being first driver to do 2 flying laps, is sitting in third place at the moment, just ahead of Dwight Merriman in the Era Motorsport Ferrari.
Dwight Merriman, 151.688 for him in that Ferrari. What's interesting is the fastest 992 drivers are about the same as the AM drivers in the GT3. Keep that in mind over Saturday, Sunday, because that's going to be really important for the multi-class situation. Red Ant Racing, last year's 992 champions, they've moved up to a GT3 car, a Mercedes AMG, and they've just gone to the top of the timesheets. Kobe de Bruyker, 148.493. That is quick.
Yeah, puts him about 6-7 tenths of a second clear of the rest. And again, it's great. We were talking about this as we were walking in from lunch. It's all about food with me, isn't it? Have you noticed that? And it was about, you know, they raced for so many years in 992. Fancy to move up to GT3. Not everyone likes it. Some do. Actually, we heard from, of course, Red Camel Jordan preferring to race a 992. But for a lot of people, it's an aspiration. They'll see if they can make it work. Get loads of track time, of course, in 24H series. Which is another factor, more of a chance to learn. Lisa Clark getting out of the way there, the heart of racing, Mercedes looking menacing, and she gave it space to go round, but that's sitting down in 13th place with Ian James, but expect the Anglo-American to pick up the pace as he goes. He needed a bit of track space there, so slightly compromised, but just waiting to see when he puts a flying lap on the board. The one he's done so far is a 1 minute 58.2. That's an out lap sort of time. The fastest laps are now down 1 minute 47.59. Alexander Prince, the Hofer Racing Mercedes, the top. That's a great looking car, gunmetal with sort of pink contrasting elements on its nose and flanks, but that's by far the quickest lap. 8 tenths of a second clear of the rest.
Underneath the race lap record set 3 years ago by David Fuminelli, 147.806 in the Ferrari 488 GT3. Over the line comes Ian James. Where does he go? He goes 7th quickest. He was quickest in sector 1 there of anybody, 149.385. So a little bit, about 1.8 seconds off Alexander Prince in the same car, of course, in a Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo.
Yeah, but remember we saw him having to take the wide line in the descent down to Savelli to go past Lisa Clark's pale blue and orange Ferrari. That's certainly compromised, and it's also about, we've talked about this, about being out of position for Savelli, because then of course you're winding it up through Arrabbiata 1 and 2, and if you just don't carry the momentum in, it's a bit like turns 2 and 3 at the Barcelona circuit as they go up the hill and keep turning to the right. If you're not on the racing line at the bottom after a sort of first, second corner sort out, you know, that lap is really compromised.
Alex Prince is going even quicker here. He's just gone an absolute best in sector 2. Personal best in sector 1, so this is a really quick lap from the Mercedes driver, but also the Mercedes driver in Ian James. This is a bit of a, I'm going to hesitate to say a weekend off, but comparatively, comparing to running an Aston Martin Valkyrie hypercar in the World Endurance Championship and in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship in GTP, this is a comparative week off, as Alexander Prince, wow, 147 flat for the Swiss driver.
So what we know, of course, is Hofer Racing have got a fantastic setup for the dry. However, tomorrow and Sunday are due to be raining here. But I guess what Ian James would be missing is that wonderful ear-splitting V12 sounds from the Valkyrie prototype. But settling down, his next lap was an improvement on the first lap. That's all you can ask. But down in 9th place for Heart of Racing. But Hofer Racing clear at the moment on aggregate by half a second from Heart of Racing. Oh, there, Ian James, he suddenly improves. There he is, looking at him down in 9th. That second flying lap, third flying lap, he's up into 2nd place.
Do you think they've come on the radio saying, you're on the TV, yeah, let's go faster? And he's like, yeah, roger that.
They're talking about you, do a good job. Right, bit of slipstreaming up the start, finish straight. Ferrari with a Mercedes tucked under the rear wing, almost can't separate them. And Red Ant Racing, Kobe de Bruyker up into 3rd place now due to racing. Tim Muller, he was fleeting at the top of the charts, but he's down the order. But the red Pellin Racing Ferrari, Haugen, American racer, right across the nose of one of the Mercedes into the first corner. The Mercedes driver's gone, you know what, I can't get past you, I'm going to back off and make myself space. You've only got 15 minutes to play in these qualifying sessions, and so don't spend a lap trying to get another driver out of the way. Drop back, you've got the space, you've got the time, and then you can build up to pace. And we'll see where it picks up from there. And it was number 93 that was being obstructed. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was the Red Ant car got stuck behind the Perrin Racing 23 of Terje Haugen. But I tell you what, Alexander Prince is going even quicker here. That family outing, driving with his wife Chantal, 146.948. That is very close to the time we saw from Ryan Dalziel in practice, 146.8. So that's remarkable. I mean, Ryan Dalziel's a full professional driver.
Exactly.
That's really impressive.
What was so impressive, he did a very good lap. Then he did one that was even quicker, 1 minute 47.0. He's found about 5/100ths of a second. So improving, but again, great quality, great consistency. Ian James trying to fight back. He didn't have such a good middle sector, so his latest lap actually is his fastest. So he's been very close to his best, and now the gap between first and second is 0.6 of a second still. That just shows how well Alexander Prince has been going in the family car, the Hofer Racing Mercedes, top of the charts.
It truly is a family outing in that machine. That's an AM-class car. Now, it is worth noting that there is a slightly different balance of performance for an AM-class car, but the Heart of Racing car is also an AM-class car, so they're identical. They run at 1,340 kilos. It's the heaviest GT3 car, actually, that Mercedes, but they get a slightly larger restrictor. They have 2 restrictors on the car. They're both 4mm bigger, which lets the engine breathe more and gives it more power.
Just looking at the split of the fastest time to the slow, 1 minute 46.948 seconds. We mentioned the driver of that's Alexander Prince, but there's quite a spread down to Lisa Clark, who's 1 minute 54.9 seconds. We're looking at a spread of 8 seconds or so from top to bottom at the moment. The session is coming to an end relatively soon, nearly just under 4 minutes. Is there going to be any change at the top? But it's really quite a margin, 0.6 of a second between first and second, between Alexander Prince and Ian James. It's Mercedes, Red Ant Racing in third place, Kobe de Bruyne. Best of the rest, ARC Bratislava. It's yellow, it's colourful. And of course, it's ARC Bratislava. It's Zdeno Mikuláško, fourth at the moment.
Into the pits then comes Alexander Prince. I think you can say that is job done for him. Of course, driving with his father-in-law, Michael Kroll, Chantal's dad, and Maximilian Partel. I think that's the thing. If you're driving with your father-in-law, you don't think about under pressure. You don't want to make any mistakes in your father-in-law's car.
Unless you've been selected to be the son-in-law because you're quick.
Yeah, mate.
I'm trying to be positive.
Amazing job there from Alex Prince. I mean, you talk about a family effort. It's not just those in the car. The kids are there as well. They're all running about with the Hofer Racing uniforms on. Fantastic. The traditional pink flower. I think it's an orchid on the side of the car as well. It's on Chantal's helmet too.
I'll bow to your knowledge on that one. Heart of Racing still pressing around the blue and the blue Mercedes AMG with little yellow flashes on the nose and on the tail. Ian James pushing on, but he needs to find. He's 0.7 of a second down on the best from Alexander Prince, but equally he's a whisker clear. Was a whisker clear because he's just been moved back. I was just checking to see where the change would come from. It comes from Kobe de Bruyne, so Red Ant Racing, get used to them being in GT3 all the years. Father Bert and sons Ayrton and Yannick have been competing in the 992 Cup class, but I would say they're putting a very good fist in, the Belgian team, to have a shot at this level. But of course, the car that's fastest already parked up in the pit lane. We've got just under 2 minutes remain. Where's the improvement going to come from? Probably from people towards the tail end of the order, I would suggest. Fabrizio Broggi trying to pick up, getting the top 10. He's down in 12th. Olivier Campos picking up the pace as well. No, he does improve his time, but he stays E2P Racing in their Aston Martin down in the tail of the top 10 in 9th position.
But only 1.6 seconds between the top 9, which for the AM-graded drivers, that's quite a tight dispersion, I would say, for those top 9 to all be within that band of lap time. That band of lap time will get narrower as the professional drivers get in, but at the moment, pole position provisionally is covered by 0.09 of a second between Alexander Prince and Kobe de Bruyne. Now, it must be noted that Kobe de Bruyne, the car that he's in, is running to the regular balance of performance. The Hofer Racing car of Alexander Prince is an AM car, so it has a slightly bigger restrictor, so it can run a little bit more power. I couldn't tell you exactly how much extra horsepower it is. 2 times 4mm restrictor. That's one for our technical gurus. We'll try and find out what probably during dinner.
I could give you an answer, but it won't be correct, so I shan't. I know these things after many years doing this job.
Convincing, it would have been all right.
think I could have got away with it.
Maybe. So it's 3 Mercedes from the Lamborghini of ARC Bratislava, from the first of the Audis for Continental Racing, then the first of the Ferrari, Scuderia Praha, multiple winners of this race in the past. Then it's another Ferrari for CCC Kessel Racing. Juta Racing with their Audi is 8th. Then it's the Sol Aston Martin of E2P Racing. MP Racing's Mercedes in 10th. Ferrari in 11th. Now, interestingly, and I don't know if there's much to read into this just yet, Porsche, both Porsches down at the very bottom of the timesheets.
Well, in fact, they've got 2 Ferraris behind them because one timing screen is
sorry, I do
13
apologise. Sorry,
cars.
that's the wrong page.
And we've got the Pelin Racing Ferraris, one more modern, one slightly older at the rear. The checkered flag is flying, and one of the first cars past was E2P Racing's Oliver Campos. And he was the first car past, 9th position overall. Great to have the variety. As I said, 15 GT3 runners, so this is GT3 qualifying. The first of 3 sessions now behind us, but 6 manufacturers taking part in that. But Mercedes get the bragging rights at the moment, and most notably, the Hofer Racing team waiting to go back out again, top of the charts.
What is interesting as well is that Alex Prince only needed 4 flying laps, so he's got a little bit life left in the tyres for the other drivers who are going to jump in. Diana Pinks is down at the Hofer Racing garage with Alex Prince himself.
I am indeed. Alexander, how satisfying was it to know that you had the pace to be able to come in to the pit lane and park up for a few minutes for that first part of qualifying?
Amazing, satisfying. It is always like when you just have something that you wish for in qualifying, you said, okay, I can push my lap right at the beginning, and then I can come in, save tires for the other guys. So, it just went perfect, except the outing of the pits. We had a small issue with the Ferrari. He got stuck in the exit of the pit, so I got stuck behind, so I couldn't get by. And then our strategy from going out of the pits was completely done, so I had to manage to figure out my position on track. But it worked well, so I could push straight out. I'm really happy.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Having to adapt to that moment's notice when you know you've got to do something different. That's where the experience comes from.
Yeah, it's the experience, and also our engineer, Michael, he's just amazing. He just calmed me down because I was a little bit inside the car. You were always like full of adrenaline, and I said, okay, no, what can I do now? Can I go out of the pins? And then no, maybe one of these pins gets stuck under my car, so I have to wait. I hope, and he just calmed me down, makes it easy, and then made it clear that we have a still good position. I just have to manage the car in front of me. So yeah, was a little bit stressful for me, the beginning of the quali, but now I'm really, really happy, satisfying, and now crossing fingers for Max.
How is it behind the wheel? Are you really happy with the balance and performance that you've got in this car?
Yeah. Overall, I'm really happy with it, but it's changing. At the beginning of the days here, it was warm. Then we got also the new tire compound for Michelin. It's always like changing balance of the car. We had to manage this, so it was all of the preparation went a little bit more stressful for us. It was not like, okay, we come here, we know the tires, the track. We have to adjust a lot of things. But I think the guys made an amazing job. So they make it always easy for us as a driver. So we just have to step in and drive and have fun. But it's just amazing and enjoyable.
Thank you very much, Alexander.
Thank you very much.
Real confidence there for Alex Prince. That's a very good sign for Hofer Racing. So it's going to be Max Partel then who gets in next for that number 11 Mercedes. Driver who's competed with Hofer Racing over many, many years. With class winner at Dubai, at Barcelona, and both those 24-hour races, and a class win in the SP3T class a couple of years ago at the Nürburgring 24. If you can even finish that race, you know what you're doing. But if you can win your class, what an achievement.
If you've never watched the Nürburgring 24 hours, do treat yourself to that. It is multi-class racing at the most extraordinary level, and at the top of it you've got the GT3 class, or SP9 as it's largely known when racing around the Nordschleife. Super competitive. but the whole way down, you do get some extraordinary difference in the machinery, and it is on the most extraordinary of circuits. Weather can, frequently does, last year did affect the running when fog fell, but it's great that a lot of drivers that compete in that come and compete in this series as well. So it's good to see friends in other places too. But right here and now, it's the 24H series, first round of the European season. It's Mugello, and we've all set for the second of the 3 15-minute qualifying sessions for the GT3 runners to try and work out which crew on aggregate is going to set the best aggregate time to take pole position.
So now there is no restrictions on who you put in your car. If you have an AM driver in your lineup, they must go in at Q1. Of course, many teams have an all-AM driver lineup, for example, Hoffer Racing, so they can put who they like in when. So in general, Alex Prince is usually the quickest driver in that car, so they decided, right, let's get the very best out of the tyre and put it in there. So let's see when they get up and going who has been put into the rest of the cars. We know it's going to be Max Partel for Hoffer Racing. Green flag then. 15 minutes on the clock for the second qualifying session. At the moment, it's Hoffer Racing from Red Ant from Heart of Racing. 3 Mercedes at the top of the field. Will the order shake up after this? I'm not a betting man, but I'm going to guess so.
There you go. He's just gambled his house and got away with it. But let us find out. Session number 2 of 3. The car that's 4th on aggregate so far, leaving the pits now. It's the Lamborghini of the one and only Lamborghini in the series at this opening round of 2025. It's ARC Bratislava, staunch supporters of all form of endurance racing and fiercely proud of all their involvement in the 24H series. Very much the Konopka family enterprise. 2 generations racing, playing together.
So for Red Ant Racing, it's going to be Ayrton Red Ant taking this out for the second qualifying session. For Heart of Racing by SPS, it will be Gray Newell. Jaitong Liang will be on board, is on board the ARC Bratislava machine. Arunas Gekuskas for Juta Racing. Pablo Borguera in the E2P Racing Aston Martin. Then it's Thomas Gosner in the MP Racing Mercedes. Manuel Lauk, real superstar in a touring car at the Nürburgring 24-hour. He will take out the Proton Huber competition Porsche. Down the pit lane also goes the Manamuri Energy by Ebby Motors machine, which is by far and away the most colourful machine and most wildly styled machine anywhere in the paddock, and that is Sabino De Castro taking that car out for the second qualifying.
Yeah, it's a bit like allowing a bunch of 6-year-olds out with some sample paint pots, all of the day glow colours. I mean that kindly as well. Right, the time we need to remember, the best time in the first qualifying session, the lap time set by Alexander Prince, 1 minute 46.948. We know that the best of the rubber is used up in that first qualifying session, but he did fewer laps than his rivals, so maybe just an incremental advantage for the second driver over the other drivers in the second session. And let's see how Max Partel gets on with that. But what sort of times can we expect? The first car over the start-finish line with an out lap. Thomas Gosner, the MP Racing, that's the dark, sort of mid-green metallic Mercedes AMG. Next car across the line, it's the ARC Bratislava Jiaton Liang driven Lamborghini. Third car across the line, doing a very good time actually, due to Racing's Audi, Arunas Gesiakaukas.
Yeah, I don't think we've got absolutely representative times yet. It's, whoops, off goes the MP Racing car. That's Thomas Gosner. Oh dear, but manages to get it back going again. And doesn't actually lose an enormous amount of time. Straight back onto the circuit, clean the tyres up and get back going again. That looks to be turn 3 again.
It's turn 3,
Bruce. That's a hot spot.
And he was, well, deep. He was closer to the outside of the gravel trap than the side closer to the track. Got it back together. You never really know how your car's going to make it through a gravel trap. But again, he was trying to adjust the throttle, feather it a little bit and get it back. But that was a real tank slap to the left, tank slap to the right, and bring your heart rate down below 180.
We should give it its proper name, Poggio Secco.
I did throw that in.
That was a bit Poggio after all that pasta last night.
It was, exactly. Me after my 3 breakfasts. I only had 2 people.
Absolute best sector time for Ayrton Redon, so we should see a quick time there for the Belgian driver in car number 93 in their new Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo, stepping up from the 992 car, which they pretty much, could you say they dominated 992 last year? They certainly were the champions, so that's all you need to do. And right now we should actually also see we've got absolute best sector 22 time for Paolo Roberti. Now, interestingly, the car number 29 has sent Lisa Clark out again. Either that or the driver hasn't
flicked the switch, but one person has tweaked the steering wheel. The very car you're mentioning, I believe that was your fault. The blue and pale blue and orange Ferrari snapping one way, snapping the other, and somehow, just somehow, staying on the black stuff. Again, it was the downhill corner. One of them, Savelli, turn 6, just kissing the gravel trap as round the tail of that Ferrari went. And then on the very short straight, all collected and gathered for the following corner, the first of the Arrabbiata corners.
Yeah, well held. There might be a bit of strategy here from Pelin Racing where they might think we're going to be starting near the back anyway. So let's get, you know, Lisa's is the non-professional driver in the car, driving alongside Cal Marcelli and Felice Gelmini. Maybe the idea is to get Lisa's more track time, more seat time. That can be of more value than 2 or 3 spots on the grid.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Felice is a semi-pro, Carl Marcelli's a pro, and Lisa is the AM. So, car pointing in the right direction. She's actually relatively close to her best time in the first section. So, yeah, actually gaining. The tyres going off a little bit, gone off a little bit more after that rotation. But
I think it's driver ID, actually, because that car is just on a 150.559.
Ah, okay.
And that would be a big improvement.
Yeah.
So it could just be a driver ID thing as well. So what do we know? 148.759, Red Ant Racing, Ayrton Red Ant, 148.913 for Gray Newell. Great time from Gray there. 149 flat for Arunas Girguskas as Vasily Vladikin comes through Continental Racing. 148 flat for him, goes second on the aggregates, and it's Paolo Roberti for Pelin Racing 23, 147.520.
Yeah, that actually moved it up to 5th on aggregate. Due to racing had just pushed them back down to 6th. But that's a big jump forward for the number 23 entry from Pelin Racing.
And the 29 entry, which was Lisa Clark in Q1, Felicia Gelmini has moved the driver switch now. So it's Felicia Gelmini who's aboard that car. So that makes a bit more sense now.
It does, but also he'll be relieved that the name on the screen, on the graphic, when the car went round wasn't his, even though it was him at the wheel, of course. But we noticed Felicia.
The 81 Aero Motorsport Ferrari over the line. Jake Hill, British Touring Car Champion last year at 146.621. Wow. That's 2/10 quicker than we saw them go in practice. Wow, this is early steps of Jake Hill's GT3 driving career, and well, shows you if you're quick in a touring car, you can be quick in anything.
When you watch Jake, and I watch him do a lot of historic racing at events at Goodwood, he hops in, he's bang on the pace straight away, but you know, it's just inculcated to him. He understands the nature of the cars. His father Simon has been briefing him since he would listen from the age of about 18 months, and but he's quick, but he's just got this ability to get in and get on. Paolo Roberti continues to press, but the times have improved so much that Paolo was 5th a moment ago. He's down to 9th.
Felice Gelmini has just gone 7/10 quicker than anyone, 145.968.
Clever, he was warming up the tyres by spinning. I see.
I think they're all going to try that now, if it works. Do it. Over the line comes the number 8 Kessel car. Where are they in the order? They're 5th on the average right now with Marco Frezza, who's just put 148 flat in.
Yeah, and some quick times coming, you know, in the middle order. 8th overall on aggregate. Manuel Lauk is banging in with 147.5. That's about 3rd fastest in this session. So good to see the variety spread between the manufacturers. Good to see everybody else having a little go through the gravel trap at Poggio. That's turn 2. The latest one to do that was Vasily Vladikin. Good to have him back racing. It's been quite a while since he's been at the sharp end in GT racing.
Well, car number 8, the Kessel Ferrari, has had a lap time disallowed for track limits, and that's dropped it right down to the bottom. They need to get a lap in as, Vasily Vladikin really pushing the edge of track limits. They're sitting in 4th at the moment. So how are the averages? At the moment, it's Heart of Racing on top of the timesheet. They just moved with that personal best of 148 flat from Gray Newell. Their average is now 147.8. They go to the top by 24 thousandths of a second from Red Ant Racing, who in turn are 22 thousandths of a second ahead of Hoffer Racing, and then about a 10th and a bit further back from them is Continental Racing, Audi, and then 300ths of a second further back from them is Scuderia Praha. It is tight at the top.
And it's only going to get tighter when we get qualifying session number 3 aggregated in as well, but by the smallest of margins at the moment. But certainly Joseph Kral improves, goes to the top for Scuderia Praha with their Ferrari. Don't forget, this is a team that had its great moments in this series some years ago now. 2 wins here for them back in the history of this race at Mugello, and it's now top. And in second place is number 8. It's Ferrari from Ferrari, CCC Kessel Racing. Marco Frezza moving that up into second overall. Gap between first and second is coming down because Hofer Racing have just nipped ahead of Kessel Racing. So their Mercedes, Maximilian Partel, puts that second on aggregate. He's a quarter of a second down on aggregate from Scuderia Praha.
Brilliant stuff. So it's a Ferrari from a Mercedes, from a Ferrari, from a Mercedes, from a Mercedes. Ferrari versus Mercedes. Are we in China?
Yeah.
Is this Formula 1? No, it's the 24-hour series. Fantastic stuff in qualifying here. 146.6 for Joseph Kral, a former winner of this race on 2 occasions back in 2017 and 2019. Scuderia Praha, brilliant to have them back in 24/8 series competition. They're a huge Ferrari dealership in Prague, and great to see them here back in the championship once more.
It's also, you just have to get accustomed to the colours they race in. Scuderia Praha for so many years were racing in red, now they're racing in sort of silver, bit of gunmetal, bit of yellow, bit of white, but whatever it is, they're clear by a quarter of a second on aggregate from Hofer Racing's gunmetal and pink Mercedes. Also pressing on Kessel Racing, Marco Frezza. It's a bright red Ferrari that goes through the shades of red to dark red at the tail of that number 8 296 GT3, and they are sitting just a whisker down on aggregate behind the Hofer Racing Mercedes. Very, very close in the top 3, and those behind only a blink of an eye. Gray Newell's Heart of Racing Mercedes in 4th, and Red Ant Racing, Ayrton Red Ant, his Mercedes, going well across the 2 sessions, is 5th on aggregate.
Personal best from Kessel Racing's Marco Frezza, which puts them up to second ahead of Hofer Racing now. So the averages are 146.674 for Scuderia Praha. That's provisional pole. 146.84, excuse me, so I tell a lie. 147.4 average for Scuderia Praha. 147.443 for Hofer, 147.608 for Kessel. It's going back and forth quicker than we can keep up with it.
What's the clock doing? It's saying, well, I'm down. I started at 15 minutes. I'm now down to 3.5 minutes remaining. In this, a second of 3. Remember that 3. Scuderia Praha has parked in the pits. Joseph Kral, Czech racer, walking away. His job is done by the smallest of margins. It's got smaller still because Maxi Partel has put in his best lap, and it's now only 0.035 of a second between top on aggregate and second. It's Scuderia Praha with their Ferrari from the Hofer Racing Mercedes. Back and forth. What can Kessel Racing's Marco Frezza do? Not so much on this lap.
Brilliant stuff from Joseph Kral, a guy that back in 2012 raced in the GP2 Championship, what we now know as F2. He beat Max Chilton, James Collado, Felipe Nasr, Brendan Hartley. He knows how to pedal, for sure.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff, though. I mean, you got different teams, different lineups, all putting in personal bests all the time. The level, it's like everyone's just come out this afternoon and just throwing down everything they've got here to get this pole position. Hofer Racing, remember, they're an all-AM crew, and they're still improving as Max Partel here needs to find only a slither of time on his own, and he could put Hofer Racing back up onto provisional pole here. This is important now as he comes absolutely flat out through the chicane of Biondetti 1 and 2. It's totally flat to the floor there. Into the final corner, Piccini, critical corner to carry as much speed as you can onto the straight and up to the line, using all of the curbing on the outside. Is this going to be an improvement, and is this going to change the order up to the line? It's a long drag to the line. It is. It's a personal best from Max Partel, 147.652, and that puts Hofer Racing to the top of the shop by just over 1/10 of a second. Wow.
Wow. 0.3 of a second covers first to third. And don't forget, that's not just in this session. This is on aggregate across 2 15-minute sessions. We've got 1.5 minutes or so remaining in session number 2, but that was very, very good for Maxi Partel. But the real advantage he had, there were no cars on the track in front of him. He was able not to be interrupted, even if it's a visual interruption, a distraction, a disturbance up ahead of you. He got it clear, so they called the timing out on the track very, very nicely indeed for him.
And with the 2 cars closest to them pulling out of it, I would come out of it and save a bit of tyre.
Yeah.
Because right now the Hofer car has done 11 laps on its tyres. The Scuderia Praha car has only done 8, and in third place the Kessel car has done 10. So we've got to keep that in mind and keep the Michelin rubber for that final run, which I presume will be Chantal Prince. She had her driver suit on, so I would imagine it would be her jumping into the car, and she'll be saying, could you keep, boys, could you keep those tyres for me, please?
But get this, one of the margins, I was looking for the intervals between the various cars up and down the chart. There's one that's covered by a thousandth of a second, with Continental Racing by Simpson, Vasily Vladikin just moving into fourth, just shading the aggregate that Gray Newell and before him Ian James had achieved in their Heart of Racing team by SPS Mercedes. So it's chopping and it's changing, but Hoffer Racing, well, what a session they're having.
Interestingly, the Mercedes AMG for Hoffer Racing, they've got the kind of factory-fitted mirror made of glass up in the roof where it would normally be on a road Mercedes, but they've also got the virtual mirror just to the right of where the dash and the rev counter is. So it's like a virtual camera stuck on the back of the car. You'll see them in GTP cars, see them in all sorts of race cars now. So that's just giving that little bit of extra vision. But into the pits, job done for Max Partel, and keeps Hoffer Racing at the top of the timesheets, but only by just over a tenth of a second.
Yeah, there was another final change in that session. The checkered flag has fallen. We had Continental Racing by Simpson, Vasily Vladikin moving to fourth, but then he chipped away another tiny fraction of a second, getting him closer to the third-ranked Kessel Racing Ferrari crew, Marco Fretzer at the wheel of that. But the order after two of the three qualifying sessions is Hofer Racing with their Mercedes clear by, as you pointed out, Peter, by 0.108 of a second. Not a lot. Marco Fretzer, 0.2 of a second further back. It's very, very tight indeed, and it surely is only going to get closer.
Looks like actually it's going to be Michael Kroll who's going to get in and do the qualifying. So Chantal letting the boys get on with it here, and I wonder, that must be interesting as a driver, not being able to take part in qualifying, watching your teammates, but you've got to be calm and let them get on with it. They're doing a top job right now. Alex Prince setting the pace, and then Max Partel there just taking his helmet off. Interesting, the teams are all putting it straight on with the tyre blankets. Keep any temperature you can in those tyres, because we're just coming up to 5:45 local time. It's starting to get kind of gloomy here. The temperature's dropping. Yeah, it's going to be, the tyre temperature is going to be even more important. We don't have an exact temperature right now, but Diana Binks is with Max Partel, who's kept Hoffer Racing on the top of the chop.
Max, we saw that you had the pace out there. It was very close, but you found the gap to push that a little bit more to take that top spot in Q2.
Yeah, the point is here at the qualifying, the level is so similar. They're all at the same level, in my opinion, especially on the second run. So yeah, you have to find the right gap, and then to have maybe 2, 3, 4 laps to get alone on the track, but you're in the car, and yeah, then it's perfect.
Is that the perfect moment when you're in that sweet spot and then you find the gap?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a dream from for a racing driver to get this gap, the perfect lap. Yeah, we always dream every night of that. It wasn't that, but yeah, it's the best step to be on qualifying. The second step to get on the pole there, but we will see.
We've still got the third session to go. Michael has just jumped in behind the wheel. How's the car feeling for you? Are you very happy with the balance that you could achieve from that?
Yeah, the balance is quite good. It's not the end of the development, but yeah, we have enough time the whole season to get the perfect conditions on the tires to the right point of the car. So we will see. We will be better and better.
Yeah, it's such an early part of the weekend, isn't it? We're only into the qualifying session. We've still got a 12-hour race to go.
Yeah, so far so good. It's the second step for the qualifying. Michael's doing the third one. So it could be that we are not starting from the pole, but we will see.
Thank you very much, Max.
Thank you. Bye.
Brilliant job there from Max Partel. And likewise, although it's not showing at the top on averages, you have to give a big doff of the cap to Felice Gelmini, a 1:45.9. He was 0.7 quicker than anyone in that session.
Not only that, his next best lap was a 1:46.1. No one else got close to that. So that is that car for Pellin Racing. That's the Pellin Ferrari 296 GT3. It's down in 14th out of 15 GT3 runners, but it does show the pace is there to be had. They may work their way up the order a little bit, but it's all about adding your aggregates. And I really haven't seen a grid as tight as this after 2 qualifying sessions in the GT3 shootout. Conditions brightening up a little bit as we get late. These 3 sessions of 15 minutes each, you add together your best time from each of those. We haven't had too many best laps taken away. We've had a handful, but not so much, and that could be a factor to play here when the real pros go out for the final run. And but don't forget, driver change is not allowed during any of the sessions. Teams are all remembering that, but it's all really, as we've seen, for qualifying 3, if you can do 1 lap fewer than your rivals in each of the previous qualifying sessions, when you go out in session 3, your tyres have got that little scintilla more performance there for you to potentially unlock. Could be a factor.
It definitely could be a factor, yes. It really, really could. So, will it be Hofer Racing? Will it be Scuderia Praha? Will it be Kessel Racing? Continental? They're all close enough. Heart of Racing, they're just on the fringe, I would say. Red Ant as well. Let's see as the drivers roll out for this final 15 minutes of qualifying, and we will have the grid set for the 2025 Michelin 12 hours of Mugello. The Herbert Porsche team, the most successful team in the history of this race with 3 victories. Porsche, the most successful brand with 4 wins. And Robert Renauer, Ralph Bowen and Daniel Alleman all tied on 3 victories at this race. None of those Herbert drivers or Herbert crew are here this weekend. We're expecting to see them later on in the season, hopefully from the next round in Spa. So who is going to take the crown this time? The qualifying session. Let's see who comes out of this one on pole position. Judging by the bright orange helmet in the 81 Ferrari, I'm going to guess that's Brian DL.
Absolutely.
It is, yes.
Car's sitting down in 8th place overall out of the 15 runners in GT3. So even if he puts on what we'd expect from him, a sort of gargantuan performance, it's not going to get it to the front end. You have to have a really close aggregate across all 3 in terms of their performance. But he's going to give it his best in that Era Motorsport Ferrari. It's fantastic news they're here for the whole European Series. The season this year, it's 5 rounds. This is round 1. Next stop, Spa-Francorchamps. Oh, it's mouth-watering.
Ryan Dale, very much the kind of team leader, if you like, from a driving point of view. So much experience. Former class winner at Le Mans, at Sebring, at Petit Le Mans, at Daytona. 3-time winner of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Once overall and twice in class. So really knows how to get the job done. And you know, has driven in full pro environments, but has done a lot of driving in a pro am environment where you've got to get the best out of the non-professional driver. So that Ryan has the speed, but also has that skill set to get the best out of everyone in the car.
Interesting, a few new faces. Heart of Racing with their Mercedes. We've seen it near the front end. It's starting this session in 5th. Hannah Grisham, young American racer. She just, I know it's just out of the pit, she just banged in the fastest time in this session so far. However, it's flying laps, not flying sectors that count. But great to see some more faces from the States coming over to play. And, you know, young in her career as she works her way forward, young in age, born in 2000. So yeah, that was the big moment for me when drivers started being born in the 21st century. Now we've got some deep into the 21st century.
And that's what the Heart of Racing team have done over the years. They've given opportunities to young drivers and stuck with them through their development. And you look at the fruit that's bearing now. Drivers like Alex Riberas. Roman D'Angelo is probably the best example. He was a teenager when he joined the team, and he's now driving their Le Mans hypercar. Yeah, it just gives you an idea. If you back young drivers and stick with them, they'll pay you back in time with results. So on to these flying laps then. Who has got the pace to take this pole position? Is the difference in drivers here, is it going to make a big outcome? You know, Proton Hooper competition coming into this session, they're down in 11th with an average 1.5 seconds off the best, but they've put GTD Pro winner at Sebring last weekend, Klaus Bachler, in the car. So that car, I would imagine it will climb the order.
It will a bit. They had a little bit of a problem there with Jörg Dreisau going for a rotation. Didn't help his session. But how's Hofer Racing going to go with Michael Kroll, father of Chantal, out on the track at the moment? Can he keep them at the top of the tables? Will Miroslav Weibo, who's the closest for Scuderia Praha in terms of aggregate, or will Kessel Racing, or who else is going to climb up the order? But really very, very tight at the top. Michael Kroll has to keep it neat and tidy. Just remember, he's got a little bit more tyre life when he started Q3 than some of his rivals. That may just be enough to keep them at the sharp end, but for an all-am crew, that's a big, big ask, because the pros are a-coming.
So yeah, 13 laps on the tyres so far for Hofer Racing, 10 for Scuderia Praha, 11 for Kessel Racing. This is in order of how they sit right now. 19 laps on the Continental Audi, that could hurt. As in fact, we just see a change, a swap between Scuderia Praha as, all of a sudden the hot lap times are coming in. Gerhard Twerarser goes up to the top, and then Ryan Diel takes Era Motorsport to pole, 148.645. That puts their average to 148.4. So big leap up the timing screen there. In fact, and then Red Ant Racing 148.5 last time by. Their average is a 148 flat now.
Wow, how the orders have changed. I know we're still waiting for a few flying laps to come in. What can Michael Kroll do for Hofer Racing? They started this as outright fastest. They're down to 9th on aggregate. Sorry, it's moved even as I looked at it. MP Racing are now 9th on aggregate. David Gosner at the wheel. Heart of Racing, Hannah Grisham, I said look out for her. They go top. And they stay there for more than a few seconds. So young American racer doing a great job, fastest of anybody in that pale blue and yellow Mercedes. Top of the charts, 1 minute 47.8 seconds on aggregate, ahead of 1 minute 48.0 for Red Ant Racing with their brand new Mercedes.
Amazing job from Hannah Grisham. She's got very, very little GT3 experience. That's such a good effort. 148 flat, matches her teammate Gray Newell almost exactly to the thousandths of a second. 147.5 for Ian James. He's one of the most experienced drivers in any sports car racing paddock. She's only half a second off that on older tyres, much older tyres.
Yeah.
Big respect. That's really impressive. And Heart of Racing sit on provisional pole. Those Mercedes are flying. They're 1-2 at the moment.
They're looking really neat. And Klaus Bachler, we said watch for him. He was sitting 10th on aggregate. Boom, forget that. His lap time there, 1 minute 47.6. Fastest in this session. Moves Proton Huber. Competition with their Porsche. Up into 3rd on aggregate. A whisker ahead of Era Motorsport with Ryan Diel in their Ferrari.
Pellin Racing, the 29 car, Kyle Marcelli, 147.304. That's the quickest we've seen in this session so far. That brings that car up to 9th, so they've climbed the order quite a bit over the last couple of sessions. Era Motorsport, do they improve? Yes, they do. Ryan Diel, 147.343, so just 0.04 of a second off Marcelli's time in the same spec of car. And that puts Era Motorsport in second. Just a little improvement. Well, actually, on average, the Heart of Racing, they're 0.4 up on average from everybody.
Yeah, everybody else really, really closed in as those second flying laps are coming in. One person making great moves, Kyle Marcelli. You'd expect it for Pellin Racing. That, at the start of this session, was it 14th or 15th out of 15? I think it just moved up to 14th. Now it's up, well, moments ago, it was right up the order and suddenly things changed. He's down in 9th, but he's closing in. His next target is Manamori Energy. They respond immediately, and they put their Porsche up to 7th. So he's still got a target to aim for, but it's moving away from him. But right now, top of the charts, Heart of Racing by SPS with Hannah Grisham. Last year, racing very successfully in GT4. She's the GT4 America AM champion. Rather annoyingly, but someone also called Hannah G. That was Hannah Greenmeyer, but making her own mark here. This meeting at Mugello. Hannah Grisham, top of the charts for Heart of Racing team.
Fastest lap in this session, the reigning World Endurance LM GT3 champion Klaus Bachler, 147.193. It doesn't look like the Porsches necessarily have the pace, but when you put a superstar like Klaus Bachler in, that is a performance-enhancing additive. As Kessel Racing to the top of the timesheets. I did not expect it to flip on its head so much in this qualifying session. David Fuminelli, who holds the race lap record of 147.806, well, in qualifying here, 146.733.
All I have to do is press the rewind button. 30 seconds ago, you were saying that Heart of Racing by SPS 0.4 of a second clear on aggregate, and now they're down by 1/4 of a second on aggregate. 2/3 of a second found by that number 8 Ferrari by David Fuminelli.
Fuminelli going quicker again in the Kessel Racing machine. We were looking around the back of their hospitality. There was a Ferrari Puro Sangue parked there this morning. We were all ogling over it, saying, oh, yes, wouldn't mind one of those. That would be nice transportation.
I held out. I said, oh, I don't know, but I do like the colour.
Whoa! Off the road goes Fuminelli. Well, whether that's breaking track limits or not, that will be the lap gone, surely, for Fuminelli. Gets it all onto the grass.
Fastest in Sector 1, fastest over the painted white line and beyond as he drops down the slope to Savelli, and that will ruin all that follows. In fact, it really had to hurl the car into the start of the Arrabbiatas. That would not have made its tyres any fresher.
snow, so might just need a little cool down there before another sprint to the end with just over 6 minutes left on the clock here then. So quick rundown before it changes again. Kessel Racing Ferrari, from Heart of Racing Aston Martin, Era Motorsport Ferrari on their European debut in 24H Series, Red Ant Racing AMG, Proton Huber Porsche, ARC Lamborghini and Continental Audi. All those brands, that's just the top 7.
I think GT3 Racing is going to catch on. I don't know about you. Seems about right.
Yeah. Faminelli going to go for another lap then. 146.7, the best of the session so far. His crew are on pole position. He's going to have another 3 or actually 4 laps, I think he could probably get if he wants them.
He could, but I tell you what, it's very, very close in the battle for third place. Era Motorsports with their Pro-Am lineup, Ryan Dayel at the moment at the wheel of that Era Motorsports Ferrari. He is just 4 thousandths of a second. I think that's on aggregate across 3 qualifying sessions, each of 15 minutes ahead of the Red Ant Racing Mercedes. Certainly the Red Ant family with Yannick at the wheel at the moment are going well. In fact, so well that Yannick's just moved that up into 3rd place overall. He's jumped the Era Motorsport Ferrari. What can Ryan Dayel, the great Scottish racer, do in response? 5 minutes remain.
Heaping more praise on Heart of Racing and particularly Hannah Gresham. She is the quickest driver in that car on the oldest tyres. 16 laps on those tyres. She's just gone 2/10 quicker than Ian James went in Q1.
They won't ask her back behaving like that.
That is, so it's that big respect. That's very, very impressive there. Yes, the Mercedes are quick, but they're the top of the shop of the Mercedes right now. She's 0.3 of a second quicker than Yannick Redant's best. 992 champion last year. I think she will be beaming from ear to ear when she gets out of the car, regardless of whether it's going to be pole or otherwise.
Now, we had Hoffa Racing top of the charts after Q1, after Q2, same story, but now Michael Kroll hasn't, despite just setting his best lap, has not been able to respond. They've tumbled down to 12th place. I mean, we sort of expected a drop, but that just shows how the real pros coming through against an AM lineup. This is where they really begin to make their mark. At the moment, we're talking 1/4 of a second between the number 8 Ferrari, David Faminelli at the wheel, as he goes faster than anyone in Sector 2. Heart of Racing by SPS, Hannah Grisham, and an improvement, Kessel Racing, 1 minute 46.127 seconds for Faminelli. A bad lap followed by a very, very good one. The margin is out to just over half a second on aggregate. Is that going to be enough? I think it probably can be.
That's 1.7 seconds quicker than his existing race lap record set in the previous generation 488 GT3 Ferrari. I think we could see that that race lap record go over the course of the weekend. The drivers really reveling in this Michelin tyre, new for this year in the 24H Series, running on the Michelin H2 compound. That may well change as we go to other tracks across the year, but that's what we're on. They use the H1 in the Middle East Series. So let's see who has anybody got anything for Kessel Racing. It's going to need a big push now from some of the others. Klaus Bachter is on a personal best at the moment, in 5th at the moment, but has to find quite a bit on the average. And Heart of Racing have pitted Hannah Gresham coming in. I mean, I know it doesn't look like it's going to be pole, but I mean, can you think about, imagine the pressure you're under. You get in, your teammates have done the job, and you get in on the oldest tyres. You've got to do the job. You're very new to a GT3 car, and you go quicker than the team boss by a couple of tenths. That's impressive. I think she'll be beaming.
Yeah, just having a quick look across the timing screens. MP Racing bringing up the rear in 15th position. They've also just been warned for exceeding the speed limit in the pit lane. If you're going to do it now. Do not do it in the race. So that's the family crew. That won't help their progress at all. But we're sitting Kessel Racing half a second clear on aggregate. The clock counting down, just 2 minutes in this 15-minute qualifying session remain. And that margin's over the Heart of Racing Mercedes. And that's in the pit lane. It's going to have no further improvement. What can the Red Ant family crew do in Red Ant Racing? Stepping up to GT3. They've moved from the years and years in the Porsche 992 category. With their Mercedes, they're sitting in 3rd place, just ahead of the Ferrari of Era Motorsport. Ryan Dayel seeing what he can do, but we haven't had many improvements recently. It's the cars further down the order, like Nicolas Michelin, the GT3 Racing Audi, just in 8th place. But the top runners, have we seen the best of them? I sort of think we have.
Yeah, the 3 out of the top 4 have pitted. We might see an improvement here from Klaus Bachter. So 1:47.1, but that's a second. That's his best. He's a second off for Manelli. The Porsche really struggling for pace here this weekend at the Mugello 12 Hours. Let's see what Klaus Bachler can do. If anyone can grab some pace, it is that very impressive driver. 1:47 flat, so finds a bit, but still 9/10 of a way. That's, I mean, going into the race tomorrow, they've got to be a bit concerned of not having the pace to fight with the Ferraris and indeed the Mercedes AMGs.
Yeah, but when you get to the race, of course, they're doing much, much longer stints. It's not about ultimate speed. It's about consistent being as close to the car's performance as it works its way through tyre life, etc., etc. But Klaus Bachler, he's done as well as he can. 3 of the 4 cars ahead of him on pace in the pit garage, or the pit lane at the moment, but he stays in 5th place, but gets another 1/10 of a second clear of the Continental Racing number 69 entry in this field, the Audi that's been driven very well indeed, I say, by Andrew Solokatsev.
And just to give you an idea how much this session has flipped things around, Hoffa Racing went into this on pole. They're now 12th on the average, and they're, you know, the AM category, they are sitting 6th now in the AM category. So just shows you that across those 3 sessions, just having 2 good times isn't going to be enough. You've got to be good all the way through the sessions and consistent. As Sergio Nicolai jumps out of the Muramuri Energy by Ebi Motors machine, they will start no better than 9th right now, as over the line comes Antonio Cenero for E2P Racing. They will start no better than 11th in their brand new Aston Martin Vantage GT3 Evo.
But again, just mentioning how Hoffa Racing fell from 1st down the order. Scuderia Praha for a period were top there, 13th on aggregate. Miroslav Vibo doing the final session, so tumbled down to 13th out of 15th at the moment, and I was suggesting no further improvement is coming, certainly from the car in 14, Troy Haugen, Pellin Racing. That's the older Ferrari. That's in 14th. Any improvement might come from David Gosner, MP Racing, Mercedes, but waiting for that to come through. But up front, it's David Fuminelli. The job has been done for CCC Kessel Racing. Surely an advantage of over half a second on aggregate. That's far more than we expected to be. We got closer. We were dealing in 1/10 of a second. Job is done. Hoffa Racing, will be any improvement from Michael Kroll? Well, marginally better than his previous lap, but staying in 12th position overall.
Well, Kessel Racing won their class last year, GT3 Pro-Am. Can they go one better and win the overall? It was GP Elite Porsche who were the winners last year. They're not here again this year, so there is an opportunity for, in fact, looking down the list of champions, the only way we could get a repeat winner would be if Scuderia Praha won the race, because they've won it twice in the past, and they could equal Herberth on 3 wins if they came out on top. Overall, this is what we're talking about, but Kessel Racing, they must be really pleased. Just as I say that, last flying lap, they didn't need to do it anymore. Fuminelli goes, do you want some more? 1:46 flat, fastest lap of the session on the last lap, just to turn the screw that little bit more on the rivals, saying, sleep well, guys, we've got pace, and we've got pace to spare.
And I've done it on the oldest tyres as well. That's the thing, just for measure.
18 lap old tyres. Quite remarkable. So this is how they will start then for the Michelin 12 Hours of Mugello tomorrow. It's the number 8 Kessel Racing Ferrari. Will start on pole on average 6/10 of a second quicker than the nearest car. But the nearest car, what an impressive story this is. The heart of racing with SPS, with their Mercedes, Ian James, Gray Newell and Hannah Gresham. But the driver of the day has got to be Hannah Gresham, the fastest driver in that car on those old tyres. Really, really impressive considering her lack of experience in this type of car. The Red Ants with their brand new Mercedes, the 992 champions from last year, they're going to start in 3rd. Era Motorsport, a brand new team to this championship, they're going to start in 4th, second row. That's a great start to their 24-hour series campaign. Proton Huber, difficult start to the qualifying session, but some great laps there by Klaus Bachler puts them in 5th. Then it's the Continental Racing Audi in 6th. The sole Lamborghini of ARC Bratislava will start from 7th. Then it's the 71 Audi of Duta Racing, an always warmly welcome team here, always a great supporter of this championship. The 95 Manamuri Energy by Ebi Motors car will start from 9th, and then Pellin Racing, some great laps from Felicio Gelmini and Kyle Marcelli, gets them up into the top 10. Starting 11th will be the E2P Racing Team, changing from the 991.2 Porsche to the brand new Aston Martin GT3 Evo. They will start 11th. Then it's Hoffer Racing, who have shown some really good pace throughout that qualifying session, but they will start 12th. 13th will be Scuderia Praha. Likewise, they've got some quick pace in the car. And then it's the number 23 Pellon Racing Ferrari and the number 58 MP Racing Mercedes, which will roll off from 15th on the grid tomorrow. What an exciting qualifying session that was. It's a different format, a totally different format to what we see in most other championships, but boy, it's never done until it's done.
No, it really isn't, and it just goes to show that it's not about having the ultimate fastest driver. That can give you a helping hand. It's about getting the best trio of drivers you can get out there, and for a lot of the teams, they have 4 drivers, so someone lost the toss of a coin, didn't get to go out, but just to put your least experienced driver or the least highly ranked driver out first when the tyres are at the sweetest. And how long do they try for? How long do they stay out in front? We saw, particularly in the 992 Cup class, with Red Camel Jordan coming in after just one flying lap for Rick Breukers, and it really paid dividends for them, and they ended up taking top spot in their class. But right at the end here, but actually David Fubinelli delivered on 1, 2, 3 laps there. Had a moment when he got it a little bit wrong, but he got it very much right, and he's about to hop out and pole by over half a second on aggregate. That was very, very impressive for CCC Kessel Racing.
Kessel Racing, a powerhouse in the retail of Ferraris and also the racing of them. David Fubinelli, a powerhouse at this racetrack. The reigning lap record holder in the race. That's a very strong qualifying time. We haven't seen times like that in qualifying before in the 24-hour series, and I dare say we're going to see some race lap records tumble as well. Diana Binks is down there as David Fubinelli takes off his beautifully painted red and white helmet. I love that design. Of course, there's some great designs around the paddock, and Diana Binks will be down there to grab a chat with one of our pole sitters. Di.
Just waiting on David to take his helmet off. We're actually out the back of the pit garages, so just bear with us in case that signal goes AWOL, but it seems to be okay at the moment, so we're all good. So David, you, how enjoyable was the end of that session for you?
It was great. I mean, we got our first overall pole position with our Pro-Am lineup. We had a very difficult day, so I'm great to give this gift to the team because they worked so hard. And I mean, it's an amazing qualifying session. We are close to the sunset, so I really like those conditions. The car was great, and I was able to put the lap together after a few laps because at the beginning I was really on the limit and I had a few mistakes, but yeah, it was great.
So if you were on the limit and you had a few mistakes, was it a case of sort of taking a second just to regroup and then to keep pushing?
Yeah, exactly. I also had a bit of traffic in front of me, so I decided to cool down the car, cool down myself also a little bit, and it worked. So, yeah, very happy for the team, for Ale, Marco, Leo, and everyone.
Sorry, I'm trying to move you, David. We sort of lost a little bit of signal here. If we go over to the right, I think that's a bit better. I can hear you. Sorry, would you mind just saying that again?
Yeah, so I basically got a bit of traffic in front of me, so I had to back off, and I cooled down the car myself. And it worked, so I'm happy for the team, for Leo, Ale, Marco, and everyone. So, yeah, let's keep going.
Great. Thank you very much, David. We're losing our signal, unfortunately, but well done to you on that pole position for ahead of the 12-hour race that starts tomorrow.
Sorry if our signal just broke up a little bit there, just where the cars have been taken through to Park Ferme. It's a little bit of a dark spot for our microphones. Apologies for that. But we got the general idea. David Fubinelli very pleased with that. And like he says, on pole overall with a Pro-Am car. We've got an Am car in second. The first of the Pro cars is the Red Ant Racing car in third.
It's how it breaks down. So really, really good job from CCC Kessel Racing to get it right there. So here we are, Mugello, Friday. Tick in the box. Practice followed by 3 sets of qualifying sessions, 9 qualifying sessions if you like. Each of them was exciting, but the ante just raised as we went up through the classes. I thought 992 was great, but the GT3 runners, the most popular class, 15 runners here this weekend, and that was a cracking session. But David Fubinelli did do 1, 2, he did 3 fantastic flying laps, and that's why they're actually clear by some big margin there, best part of half a second.
It's like a knockout sequence in a boxing match there. There was many highlights of that qualifying session. Let's summarise them now. So make sure and join us tomorrow for the start of the Michelin 12 Hours of Mugello. We race for 7 hours tomorrow, 5 on Sunday. So tomorrow we're going to get the meat of the race done.
We are. The show will start at 10:25. The race will start at 11 o'clock sharp. And we are expecting rain. We'll take whatever comes our way. And the team's still learning how to play with their Michelins. For a lot of them, they haven't done any wet weather running. So that could be a factor. And the smart teams might have already tried their wet weather run-up, even on slick tyres. You've just got to grab any advantage you can. But we've got 32 cars coming out to play across the classes. And if the racing is as exciting as the qualifying, and it will be, we're in for a cracker.
You bet we are. Yes, a trip into the unknown for many of our teams and drivers. Be sure to join us tomorrow. And thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.